accommodation for them. And that's what I'm trying to figure out. That's why we're going to speak to the Palestinian ambassador soon. But for some context, Gift of the Giver says keeping 153 Palestinians inside a plane for about 12 hours at OR Tambo International Airport was unacceptable. The travelers, as you've heard on EWN this morning, were left stranded yesterday on the tarmac at OR Tambo International Airport. Border police couldn't immediately get them off the aircraft because they didn't have the required customary departure stamps to disembark. So the group landed from Kenya, we're told. They landed yesterday morning on the charter flight operated by South African airline Global Airways. Gift of the Givers chairman Imtiaz Suleiman says this should not have happened because the organization had already agreed to house them when they arrived, because there was information already that these were people that were on the way. So what do you think is at play here? Because there are all sorts of allegations that are also being made. There are, Gift of the Givers, I think, indicated that they believe from the people that they've spoken to that there seems to be a plan by Israel to remove people from Gaza and sending them on charter planes without stamping their passports. There was somebody else also, I think, who was on the SABC who was making almost a similar indication as well. Someone who was with the Palestinians that were on that flight. But who paid for that flight? And before Kenya, where were these Palestinians? And if they arrived here, did they apply for asylum to be refugees? Because that seems to be another confusion. I called someone in the Border Management Authority just to get some context. And the information I got was that the reason that they didn't allow them to get off the flight is because, one, their passports were not stamped, so you don't really know where they come from. But two, there was no indication. Because remember, when you come to South Africa particularly, in fact, most countries, if you are here as a tourist, for you to even be let in, you need to be able to show, okay, where am I going to stay? You need to be able to show that this is my return flight in some, if not all circumstances. And that they didn't pass that test. Now, the second test you probably want to pass is we need to give you refugee status. You want to apply for asylum. But if you want to apply for asylum, there are strict conditions that are also attached to that. And my understanding is that from the people I spoke to at the Border Management Authority is that none of the people who were in that flight wanted to apply for asylum. And Gift of the Givers then came through and said, we are open to making available accommodation for the people that arrived here. So the Border Management Authority says, we couldn't just let people out without getting clarity on where they come from and what kind of visas they're getting. In fact, there had to be an exception from the Minister of Home Affairs. I would imagine maybe Derko Minister called his Minister of Home Affairs and said, please, can you write a letter authorizing the Border Management Authority to, under these circumstances, at least help these people get off a flight, and we'll give them these 92 days or so that they've mentioned. So we're going to try and understand what is going on here, because there's so many questions I have. I'm sure you've got your own questions as well. If you've got any, give me a call, send me a WhatsApp, and then I'll put them to the Palestinian ambassador, because I know the ambassador went to see the guys when they were still on the plane last night at OR Tambo International Airport. 011-883-0702 is the number to dial. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. We've also reached out to Israel to also just give them a chance to explain to us whether, if at all, they're involved, and to respond, of course, to the claim that they are the ones that are busing people from Gaza and they're getting them on these charter planes and sending them to other parts of the world as part of removing people from Palestine. So as soon as we get them, we'll put them on the radio. Between 10 and 11 o'clock, though, we're going to do our Across the Desk feature. And today, I'm hosting directors of NGOs and NPOs. So we're going to find out more about the work of NGOs. These organizations are quite important. And I know there are instances where we criticize them, criticize how they do their work, which is fine, right? Nobody is immune from criticism or from scrutiny. But these are organizations that have also played a vital role, especially in this country, because they have often stepped in where government systems fall short. They've stepped in providing social support, advocacy, community development, from child protection and education to human rights and economic empowerment. These organizations form a backbone of civil society. But as you can imagine, running an NGO in South Africa is not without its challenges. You're not only dealing with funding cuts, especially international funding that has begun to dwindle for some time now. There's donor fatigue as well. There's tightening regulations that you deal with, political pressure. So we're going to find out more about the work that these NGOs do. And as directors, what are their responsibilities? I'm going to be joined by Dr. Shahida Omar, who's the director of Teddy Bear Clinic, and Tebogo Khas, who's the founder and director of Public Interest South Africa. At 11 o'clock, we're going to do our relationship and sex feature. And today we're discussing the giver-receiver dynamics during sex. At 11 o'clock, it's adult radio, so no kids are allowed. I'll tell you more about this topic at 11 o'clock when it's just us, the adults. It's 14 minutes now, after 9.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Uh-oh, Abel, I'll get into trouble here. I forgot to say, that's the show coming up over the next 3 hours. Let's go to your WhatsApps.
Good morning, Clement. This is Cynthia. Oh, what a tragedy is South Africa. Who is using us now? I've got one word for anybody, is investigate how 152 reluctant people who are exhausted from a country that's ravished are used as pawns. Please investigate. Please investigate, because this story sounds like a very interesting story.
Morning, Clement. Regarding the Palestinians who were stuck at OR Tambo, I don't agree with Dr. Suleiman when he says there must be an investigation against Home Affairs officials, because we are now in a situation like with our police whereby we are questioning them to say, if you are given an instruction, even if it's wrongful, from your managers or like your line manager, are you just gonna do it blindly? So Dr. Suleiman should let Home Affairs do the work that they're supposed to do. So it is not their fault. They are not the ones that put us in this situation.
Yeah, and also, guys, if the Border Management Authority had decided to just allow people without following the normal processes into the country, and then you find out later certain people were allowed who shouldn't have been allowed to disembark, who do you think is going to take accountability? It's not the ministers, right? So the Border Management Authority has released a statement outlining what they've done and why there were delays at the airport. And the worry now is, had they just done whatever without the minister's letter, where there's an appreciation of the special circumstances and there's a deviation from the normal regulations and rules, then the accounting authority and the Border Management Authority is the one who's going to take the flag. All right, let's get some clarity now. With Hanan Jara, who is the ambassador of the State of Palestine to the Republic of South Africa, Namibia, Lesotho, and Malawi, who's going to join us on the line in a few moments to just explain to us what really transpired yesterday. Ambassador Jara, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for hosting me.
Let's start with just the basics of what happened yesterday. My understanding is that you did go and meet with the Palestinians that arrived on this chartered flight. Where are they coming from, and do we know who paid for that chartered flight?
Yes. First of all, I would love to salute South African government and for its outstanding position on what happened yesterday. That position stems from two major things. First of all, the human perspective, and second, the international law and the solidarity with the Palestinian people as well. As for what happened yesterday, we received 153 Palestinians on a plane that was coming initially from an Israeli airport, an airbase, taking people. All the people were coming from Gaza, families, children, and families mainly. And obviously, these people were misled by a non-governmental organization that is it's virtual, online, but it's like obviously an organized organization that was created for the purpose of evacuating or taking out people from Gaza, making use of the desperate of situation of the Palestinian people in Gaza after 2 years of genocide to evacuate them, taking into consideration that no one is allowed to go inside Gaza or to go outside Gaza. So what happened is that that plane, which has no clear commercial like a commercial name or brand, let's say, was flying in a very suspicious way from Ramon Airport in Israel, as I mentioned, into Nairobi, Kenya, and then arrived to Johannesburg. What make it the incident happen? That this is not the first flight that comes in this way. This is the second flight in 2 weeks that brings all the flight was Palestinians evacuated from Gaza through the same organization that follow the same route, let's say, in taking people outside from Palestine to Gaza. Of course, the identity of the party that chartered the flight from Palestine, from Gaza, let's say, or from Israel, because they were chartered from Ramon Air Base in southern Israel, and then they had a connected flight from Nairobi, remains unclear. We don't know who are they, because as soon as a problem arises, and the South African authorities, which of course they have all the right to suspect any flight that there is something suspicious and unclear, these organizers just disappear. They do not phone, they do not receive calls, they do not answer the clients, they do not do anything, which also put red flags for us as Palestinians and for the South African government.
Okay, so just to clarify, you were saying that there's an NGO that has been getting people out of Gaza. What are they saying exactly to people in Gaza to get them out? Are they saying, we've got an opportunity to take you to a new country, to start a new life? What exactly are they promising people in Gaza who end up getting on buses to Israel and to be chartered from Israel, then to these countries like Kenya, South Africa?
No, they don't promise anything. They say that, people are in despair. People are desperate to go out after 2 years of genocide. It's a human nature. It's normal that you want to go out at any way. So they say that what we can do is that we can help you. You pay us money. And some people, I was talking to some of the Palestinian citizens yesterday, the prices even vary. Some people are paying like $3,000 per person. Some families were paying $5,000 US
for what exactly?
Per family. US dollars for family, only to take them out, to put them in a plane and to secure their landing in one of the countries, basically, that is granting waiver of visa requirements for Palestinians. Mainly, it was in Malaysia, Indonesia, South Africa, and some other countries also that do not require Palestinians to have a visa. They can have it on arrival. So they were making use of these things. No promises, nothing. Only the people are like promised to be taken out of Gaza.
But are they leaving Gaza under the guise of, okay, we'll go to those countries for a couple of months, or is it under the guise of, we want to go and live in those countries?
Most of the people that I met, they want to go outside for a period of time as like a time out, let's say, until the reconstruction process takes place, and then they want to go back. Definitely, they want to go back. Yes, yesterday they were given the choice of asylum in South Africa with all the conditions as a normal people, but none of them applied for it, and none of them were interested in applying.
Which was my next question then, because then that complicates things. Because one, you can't be allowed in South Africa as a visitor because you don't have, your passport is not stamped, you don't have a return flight. But number two, you have not provided accommodation. So those are the conditions under our laws, part of the conditions. So, I think we've lost her there. Okay, we're going to try to get her back. I'm trying to understand, why are they not applying for asylum? But what I'm getting from the ambassador is that these are not people who really just wanted to come and live here and get a refugee status per se. They just wanted a break to go, and then they can go back to Gaza once the reconstruction process has begun. Ambassador, we've got you back on the line. I wanted to understand, why did they not want to apply for asylum?
Because they do not want to stay in South Africa for the rest of their lives. Because we were explaining to them, according to the rules and regulations of the Home Affairs that we received yesterday, if you want to apply for asylum, they will take your passport. You might not be able to travel. You might not be able to go out. And you might not be able to get your passport until you receive an answer. And it might take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, it's upon. So they say like, no, we came here just for a temporary time to find, to go back to Gaza or to find another destination that is more suitable. Most of the people who came, they do not speak English, so they have a language barrier. Most of them, like, they just want to have a small break, or maybe they can find their destination in other country, but definitely they want to go back in Gaza.
Okay, so where are they going to live in South Africa? I know Gift of the Givers has come to provide some assistance. What exactly are they providing? How long? So they've got 90 days, and is there a plan on what happens after the 90 days?
As what I witnessed yesterday, I was with the people on the plane. Most of them, they want to leave to other countries because most of them, they went to Gaza, out of Gaza through this particular plane because this was the only plane, the only way that to take them out of Gaza. Some of them, they want to rejoin their families in other countries like Egypt, like Oman, like Germany, and so on. So I don't believe after the 90 days, we advise them to go out before the 90 days time finished. They will consider themselves as tourists. And then through this, even some of them, we received on the plane 53 passengers. Already 11 passengers has left yesterday on a flight to Australia to join their families. Another 6 left also to Egypt, also to join their families. So they are not staying here. Here is like a temporary destination, just to find another solution for their situation. Yeah. And what South Africa did was really, really amazing because South Africa knows that this charter flight, the suspicion one that comes full with Palestinians, comes with one aim, which is empty the Palestinian territory from its people, an Israeli agenda. South Africa will never accept this, will never support this. But on the other hand, they handle it from a human perspective.
We've lost that line again. Something seems to be wrong with her line because this is actually the third time that it's cutting. Before I even spoke to her, while I was introducing her, the line cut. They had to bring her back again. But I think we've got the gist, right? If there's anything else that you still want me to clarify, please put it up on WhatsApp on 072 702 1702 and maybe we'll see if we can get her back. But I think I've got the gist here. These are people who have moved from Palestine. They apparently, according to the ambassador, were promised an opportunity to fly to other countries by an NGO that the ambassador believes is operated, probably organized by Israel, because these people were bussed from Gaza to Israel and there was a plane that was chartered from Israel. How is it that we don't know the extent of the Israeli involvement in this, because nobody can say for sure that it's Israel that chartered the plane. Who paid for a chartered flight to leave Israel and come all the way to Kenya and then come to South Africa? How can we not have that information? We have contacted the Israeli Prime Minister's spokesperson, and the response we got said, okay, they are considering our response. They said, okay, they told my producers that they've received our request. They are considering their response to the questions that my producer has already put to them. So as soon as they come through, I'll alert you. What do you think is at play here? Are you still confused? It's 28 after 9.
Africa Milani,
Weekday mornings.
4 to 6.
You're about to get busy. G20 descends on Johannesburg next week. When do you bring those part of the fleet back into service and be operational at full service again?
That's right. So with the G20 coming on, at the end of in the next couple of weeks, we're actually looking at that scale up happening already next week. So during the course of next week, there'll be a full on scale up, and then obviously tactical additional capacity added in on days that are perceived to be particularly busy.
Kirby Gordon, Chief Marketing Manager at FlySF here.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
You can become a victim of a legal problem: wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Lock into roaring rugby action this season with Hollywood Bets. Bet 50 Rand or more on any Vodacom United Rugby Championship fixture, and you could win a share of 300,000 Rand in cash, betting vouchers, or prizes. This includes Smeg bar fridges, macro vouchers, a Sharks captain run, or a player's circle experience. Only the toughest team will prevail. Bet now and let the rugby rumble begin.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
KwaZulu-Natal has it all, believe it. The Zulu Kingdom is home to unforgettable adventures and experiences that will stay with you forever. Why not invite Abundase and whale watch along our wild coast, or turtle track in the heart of St. Lucia? Take a tour of our historic battlefields. Then rise above the beautiful Midlands meander in a hot air balloon trip made for two. Unforgettable happens here. Zwagala.
9:31. Let's get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines, and then we go to your calls and WhatsApps. Sfiso, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. Gauteng Premier Manyathela Show's future in office hangs in the balance as he's set to face a vote of no confidence in the provincial legislature today. The bid for his ousting filed was tabled by the DA 3 weeks ago. The party wants Lesotho out of Gauteng's top office due to his recent controversy over the discontinuation of the crime prevention wardens. Humanitarian aid group Gift of the Giver says keeping over 150 Palestinians inside a plane for 12 hours is unacceptable. The travelers were yesterday stranded on the tarmac at OR Tambo International Airport. Border police couldn't immediately get them off the aircraft because they didn't have the required customary departure stamps to disembark. And more horrifying accounts are emerging from the war in Sudan. Survivors of the bloody takeover of Al-Fasher have walked for days through the deserts, past bodies and armed men who humiliated them, just desperate to escape the Sudanese city now overrun by paramilitary forces. They have described scenes of terror as nearly 100,000 people fled the last army stronghold in Western Darfur after its fall to Sudan's Rapid Support Forces in late October. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, traveling on the N1 South, we've got some delays just as you approach Winnie Mandela Drive due to an earlier accident. But if you are heading towards the Joburg CBD, then expect delays on the Markwa North. Roadworks are taking place right near the Crown Interchange, delays from Boyson's Road. While traveling towards the Wits University, we've got an accident reported on Empire Road. It's right near the M1 exit. It's causing delays just as you come out of a net road. While traveling on the N3 North, delays. In fact, bumper-to-bumper traffic between Marlborough Drive and the Baku Interchange. Roadworks are causing these delays, so please be on the lookout there. And there's also queuing traffic in the city of Tshwane due to an accident in Erasmus Park. It's right near the Flying Saucer Interchange, causing delays. Please drive with care. More updates coming up at the top of the hour.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
9:33, this is the 702 open line. You can give us a call on 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. We spoke to the Palestinian ambassador to South Africa about these 153 Palestinians who arrived in South Africa yesterday on a chartered plane from Israel that went to Kenya, then South Africa, from what the ambassador shared with us. We're still waiting on the Israeli Prime Minister spokesperson to indicate if they're willing to come and speak to us, but we've reached out to them. And I'm also taking your calls on what you are grateful for this week. In fact, here's a WhatsApp voice note that's come through. This is a Friday, and every Friday we do Gratitude Friday, where you can call us and tell us what you are grateful for this week.
Hi Clement, it's Banele here in Nelspruit, Stonehenge. I passed my driver's license code 10 on Monday. Yeah, that's what I'm grateful for.
Oh, well done. Well, code 10 gonna get in. Yeah, well done. It's not code 8, ne? Yeah, no. If it was code 8, I would say something else. The code 10, code 10 is good. You can drive a truck, my friend. You and I can drive a truck. That's good. All right, it's 25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Let's get to your calls now. Belinda, you're calling us from Johannesburg. What do you want to say from what you've heard from the ambassador? Hi.
Hi. So I've got a question and a statement. I'll start with my statement first. The statement is that Israel's being blamed in all of this, but a simple Google search will show you that Israel stopped using stamps in passports over 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
There's paper slips one gets in entry and exit. So I don't know how the media is wrapping all of this up when that's fact. My second thing is, will the innocents in Sudan, Mozambique, and Nigeria be allowed to have chartered planes, and will Zerko allow them in? Should they be afforded the same opportunity? Thanks.
Belinda in Joburg, thank you so much for your call. Marcus, you are in, let's start with you, Gabi, first in Johannesburg. Good morning.
Good morning. My question is, how come Gift of the Givers is allowed to roughshod over the laws of the country? Should this not have been the role of the embassy the Palestinian embassy in South Africa? It seems that Gift of the Givers has now been the one to go and change the laws of this country with regards to entries of refugees. Also that they aren't, it's been made clear that they aren't claiming asylum seeker status or refugee status. What was Gift of the Givers doing on the plane and interacting with the government when there is an ambassador residing in our country that is meant to be doing this?
So the gift, remember, they are now eligible for a 90-day visa exemption travel to South Africa. So they've been processed as per that and will be required to adhere to all the conditions of entry. What the Border Management Authority have done, Gabi, is they didn't filter. In fact, they stuck to the rules and they said, are you here as a visitor? If you are, show us 1, 2, 3. If you don't have that, then are you here to seek asylum? If not, then we can't let you off the flight. So they followed the law, and Gift of the Givers didn't change any laws. They've come in now. Yes, they're criticizing how the Border Management Authority have done things, but they're now saying we will offer accommodation to these people who are now here in South Africa. But they haven't necessarily changed any laws because there's an exemption that came from the Minister of Home Affairs, and these people will be here for 90 days and they will have to follow the conditions as outlined in law.
Yes, what is fascinating is in the Gift of the Giver statement, he says that he made a direct phone call to Zane Dangor and Ronald Lamola to sort the situation out. So we're seeing now that Gift of the Givers is replacing the Palestinian embassy in South Africa, because he doesn't say that they just providing refuge and accommodation. They very clearly position themselves as rather a Palestinian embassy residing in South Africa as purely a NGO.
Or maybe they're an advocacy
Gift
group.
of the Givers taking over DIRCO? Is that what they are insinuating? And you see there's kind of a
Oh, he's gone. Please bring her back. Yeah, if you can, please. Gaby, that line dropped. I don't know. Is there something wrong with our lines? Because these lines are dropping. We're going to try bring her back. But what I wanted to say to Gaby is, I think it's a bit of an exaggeration to say Gift of the Givers is taking over the Palestinian embassy. I think you can be concerned about perhaps how they're criticizing the Border Management Authority for simply doing their job. Oh, there's Gaby back on the line. What I wanted to say, Gaby, is they are an advocacy group, right? Like for instance, in South Africa, we've got the Jewish Board of Deputies. If there were Israelis who arrived in South Africa, who perhaps needed some assistance, were stranded, the Jewish Board of Deputies could probably come in, or any other advocacy group that wants to help
as
them,
this has
right?
been stated, we actually had this situation when there wasn't an embassy in Israel for South Africans during the Iranian war. And the South African Jewish Board of Deputies contacted DIRCO when Iran struck Israel. And there were South African citizens stranded in Israel, not just Jews, Christians, people going there, tourists. They were stranded, and the Jewish Board of Deputies reached out to DIRCO. DIRCO was no assistance to the Jewish community or to South
Then the
Africans
problem is
stranded in
DIRCO.
Israel.
Isn't that the problem?
That it just shows where DIRCO lies. That they
which
are
is
very
precisely
quick
my
to
point.
answer Gift of the Givers phone calls and sort out Palestinians, but their own citizens, South Africans, who were stuck in Israel during the Iranian war, were not given
Precisely my point,
privileges
Gaby.
of coming back.
Yeah, precisely the point I'm trying to make to you, that instead of trying to shift the blame to Gift of the Givers, which has every right, every right to do what it can to assist the Palestinians, right, because that's part of their cause, the same way that, as you say, the Jewish Board of Deputies called DIRCO, they've got every right to do that. Then put the blame on DIRCO. If DIRCO has not been consistent in how it responds to these advocacy groups, that's the problem with them. They're supposed to be consistent when they are being asked to assist certain groups that are, Palestinians are leaving a country that has been at war. Everything is destroyed almost there. So Gift of the Givers feels the responsibility as an advocacy group to try and intervene where they can, including with government. The Jewish Board of Deputies can equally do the same thing. They've got every right to do that. And other advocacy or NGO groups. So if DIRCO has not been consistent in how it assists people, that's the problem with DIRCO. And we must hold DIRCO accountable for that. Marcus, you're in Kensington. What are your thoughts? Hi.
Yes, hi, Clement. Clement, you posed the question, what is at play here? Well, I think the question's been answered. I think it's mischief-making. It's typically mischief-making of the Israeli state, and the responses from Gaby and Belinda before her bear that out, and they are trying to shift the narrative. The real questions to be asked, Clement, is who knew what, and did they willingly collaborate in an act of ethnic cleansing? Because this is what it is. It's taking advantage of people, desperate people, and as the Palestinian ambassador said, even if they wanted to just get a break from the situation, those were her words. But we know, Clement, we know the name of the company, the aviation company involved in this. So it's Global Aviation Operations.
But who paid?
We can even, Yeah, exactly. But we even know the names of the people associated with that. Anyone can do a search. I won't name them here on the radio, but you can do a Google search and you'll find those names, right? Now, who paid for them? Who contacted them? Did they have permission from the Kenyan Civil Aviation Authority to fly those people from Kenya to Johannesburg? Did they know this? What did they know? Were they contacted by the Israeli state, by Israeli military, Israeli intelligence? What did they know? So those are questions that need to be answered.
Exactly.
So
And how do we answer those questions, Marcus? Because I'm equally frustrated because those are the questions I have. I want to know who paid for this flight to be chartered. If it came from Israel to Kenya to South Africa, and this is even a second chartered plane, who paid for it?
Exactly.
Because that's going to then give us some context of probably the reasons why the plane has been chartered when we know who is responsible for paying that. Because it's not cheap, guys, to charter a plane from Israel to Kenya to South Africa. It's not. What is the reason behind that? What is the reason behind that? And I think we'll know that once there's a sense of who has put in the money behind this. It's 15 before 10.
At Chamberlain's, there's something for everyone. From building supplies for the home renovators to garden essentials for the homemakers. From power tools for the DIY doers to painting supplies for the patio Picassos. We even have coffee for the slightly sleepy and snacks for the young ones. And for the ones who can never quite find what they're looking for, we have you covered too. With our promise to find and source whatever you need. Chamberlain's, famous for hardware since 1903.
Make the winning move when you play Powerball and Powerball Plus for 42 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Friday. That's right. Play Powerball for an estimated 36 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 6 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. E2 is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
Standard Bank and 702 have joined forces to bring you China Unlocked.
Africa generally provides a massive opportunity for all tourists. People, Europe is largely saturated in tourism. I see in the Middle East significant numbers of tourists increasingly coming to this part of the world. Think Saudi Arabia, I think the UAE, Dubai in particular, Abu Dhabi, and increasingly. And it's all about creating connectivity, safety, and a good value proposition for tourists. We have a relatively cheap destination, generally speaking. It's, of course, there's a long-haul destination, but people want those unique experiences. We have to package it, market it, and sell it effectively.
Don't miss China Unlocked on 702 Drive with John Perlman. Tuesdays on 702. Brought to you by Standard Bank Business and Commercial, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
14 minutes before 10 o'clock. King, you're calling us from Centurion. What are you grateful for?
Hi, Clement and the listener. How are you?
Sharp, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, in 2020, after getting my PhD, I decided to upskill myself in terms of leadership. And then I registered for the Masters of Business Leadership, which was totally different from my specialization. I'm an agricultural scientist. So it had 10 modules. I passed 9 modules. There was that module which was giving me a hell of stress.
There's always that one module, hey?
Yeah, it's advanced accounting. So I failed it, and then I repeated it. I got the results yesterday. I get 84%.
Well
and
done.
I'm very grateful, considering the fact that I'm a scientist, and then I went to start something that is totally different.
Yeah. Oh, man,
So,
King. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm happy. My year has been made yesterday.
So your master's in business leadership is now complete.
Thank you very much.
Well done, brother. Well done. We celebrate with you this morning, King, in Centurion. Karen, you calling us from Morningside. Good morning.
Morning, Clement.
Hi.
A question on my mind is, if this plane stopped in Kenya, and I understand that they have a process, a formal asylum process there, why did South Africa, at the behest of Gift of the Givers, accept this plane load of people and not send them back to Kenya?
And so
we can have bleeding hearts, and it's all very well, but there are processes in place under international law. There are legal protections, and we've got to protect our own people and our own nation first.
Yeah, we're trying to figure that out, Karen. My producers are trying to find out from Kenya what happened when it landed there. Like, did they refuse them entry, or was it only in Kenya for them to then, just then travel to South Africa? So what was the process when they arrived in Kenya? So we're trying to figure that out. So as soon as that clarity is sought, I'll let you guys know about it. But Karen, that is a good question you're asking. What happened there in Kenya? Thank you so much for your call, Karen, in Morningside. AB, you are in KwaZulu-Natal, in Durban. What are your thoughts? Good morning.
Good morning, Clement.
Sure.
It's very clear that an Israeli organization put the whole scam together, because it's impossible for Palestinians to leave Gaza, travel through the border into Israel, and go all the way to the airport, and then you are processed and fly out on Kenyan Airlines. Here's another interesting point. The Israeli president visited Kenya last month. So the plot thickens. And Clement, when the Palestinians arrived in Joburg, I'm sure they were bewildered about how they ended up here in South Africa. And our officials here also were also uncertain how to deal with the situation. Hence the delay. It was a unique and confusing situation caused by the scam.
In fact, AB, as I said, I spoke to some people who gave me background information in the Border Management Authority, some sources who said these guys were surprised. They didn't know. They were like, what are we doing here? They don't even know why they're here in South Africa. It almost looks like it is a scam from what the officials at the Border Management Authority are telling me. That's why they were like, okay, are you here to visit? They're like, in South Africa, or are you here for asylum? And they didn't want to apply for asylum because they didn't want their passports to be confiscated and they won't be allowed to leave. So it's really, really confusing, AB. But yeah, they were confused when they landed in South Africa yesterday, according to the officials, but also according to the Palestinian ambassador who spoke to us earlier on. AB in Durban, thanks for your call. Here are some of your WhatsApp voice notes.
Good morning, Clement. My question is, why didn't they end up in Kenya? Why did the flight had to stop at Kenya and come here? They could have finished their traveling in Kenya. They could have been accepted as asylums or whatever state they are in Kenya. Secondly, what papers are they going to use to move to those countries that they think they're moving to? I don't see them moving. They're going to be here for the coming 100 years.
So why are these Palestinians not being accommodated in the neighboring states in Palestine? Why are they not why were they not accommodated in Kenya? Because we understand that they are coming now, flying in here from Kenya. Who paid for the flight? So why are we receiving them as South Africans and having government departments running around and South Africans running around for an arrangement that was not set up prior? Is it because maybe they are not black? Yeah, ne? And we wonder when the government refuses that they were paid even to make allegations against, to set up to take the Israelites to court in terms of the Palestinian genocide. which, yes, it is a genocide. But why are we in the middle of this? Whilst we have our own problems.
Part of the 702 family.
Hi, my name is Mbalenhle Felicity Nkubane, and I'm from Johannesburg. I'm staying in Malaysia currently. 702 helped me through my depression, my divorce, COVID. So I'm very, very happy that 702 helped me through all of those years. And I'm still going to continue listening to you guys from the morning to the evening. And yeah, thank you, 702.
Welcome to our 702 family. Let's walk the talk.
Let's count backward. 5. Insurance. 4. Pineapple. 3. Insurance. 2. Pineapple. 1. You're under. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
I'm Samela Kilboy, an actress and mom to 3 lovely kids. I worry about how sugar can make them sick. Drinking sugary drinks could lead to diabetes, heart disease, and obesity as they get older. Diabetes is one of the top causes of death in South Africa. I'm joining the fight to demand government puts our health ahead of greedy industry profits. Government must act now. Increase the health promotion levy on sugary drinks. Sign the petition on healer.org. That's HEALA.org.
Zinzi, the Gen Z. Word on the street is you sold your car.
Yes, and you know I needed a glow up. Hashtag no hustle, no hassle.
So wait. The influencer got influenced by We Buy Cars.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And they came to me. They checked the car, they gave me an offer. Oh, and they paid me immediately. Easier than an Insta Live, without the weird DMs at 2 a.m.
I didn't understand half of the things you just said, but hey, We Buy Cars. Geared for the glow up, geared for you.
For the first time on African soil, business leaders from across the globe will gather for the B20 Summit in Sandton from 18th to 20th November. On the agenda is inclusive growth and prosperity through global cooperation. This Tuesday, the Clement Manyathela Show will be in conversation with Nedbank to discuss all the news, views, and insights live from the B20 Summit. So tune in to 702 in conversation with Nedbank, proud sponsors of the B20 Summit. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
5 minutes before 10 o'clock, we've been trying behind the scenes to work out who may have paid for this chartered plane from the clues that we've gotten. I mean, I've been trying to make calls to some CEO of an airline to try and find out if they can assist us. But yeah, I'm sure throughout the day, in fact, here on 702, my colleagues as well are going to try and find out what is really going on here. But let's go to your WhatsApps on 0727021702.
Morning, Clement. I don't think this is a surprise plane that nobody knows anything about. The officials, they definitely know. I can tell you. People up there, including the president, they probably know what's going on. We are the ones who have not been told the whole information. I mean, how can a plane just land in South Africa from Kenya? Where was it going? How did it end up in South Africa? And secondly, a plane doesn't just land. I'm sure there are some things that are followed before the plane can just land. I mean, it doesn't work like that. I mean, these people who are there, have they been vetted? How do you know that you don't have terrorists there? I'm just saying, how do you know you don't have? From the security point of view, if you've got more than 100 people in a plane that nobody knows anything about, how are those people vetted? I mean, these are the questions. I understand the humanitarian point of view, but this is a country. You can't just rock up for vibes with no one knowing what's going on.
Morning, Clement. Mpoye from Johannesburg South. Clement, first question. What are the regulations saying about people landing in South Africa without being vetted? What are they saying? MTS Suleiman coming on media and saying that the Border Management Authority must be investigated because they made people to sit in the plane for more than 12 hours on the tarmac in OR Tambo, and he had already told people that he will give them accommodation. Is MTS Suleiman is MTS Suleiman Department of Home Affairs? I'm not sure what is this guy going to. And these NGOs, they seem to be, operating willy-nilly and outside the law in South Africa, which is concerning. We should look into this. Thank you. Is he part of it? MTS Suleiman. Did he ferry those people from Israel? We should be asking him those questions.
Yeah, so I'm laughing because I'm thinking it's so great that we've got NGOs coming up now across the desk feature, now that there's so much chat about that. But guys, two things that I want to really clarify. Well, at least let me give you my opinion because I've had opinions about it. One, I mean, this concept of, South Africa has its own problems. Therefore, why are we getting ourselves involved? Guys, we're part of a global community. We are part of a global community. If there are things happening in other countries, especially countries that have given us help in our moment of need, and even if it's countries that have not given us help in our moment of need, there's a level of responsibility that a country like ours, that especially understands the challenges that come with a system, because we've been there ourselves, the challenges that come with an unfair system. What you do is you try and assist where you can. That's why our president is part of the group of these African leaders who went to meet the Ukrainian president, went to meet the Russian president. That's why our president has said we go to the ICJ because we're concerned about what's happening in Gaza. So this idea that we're supposed to be this little country in a corner somewhere and just mind our business is crazy. We're part of a global community and there are responsibilities that we have. Can you imagine if countries were quiet during our time of need, during apartheid? Do you think we would have defeated apartheid had it not been for the pressure that came from the international community? No, we wouldn't have. But also, I agree that we need to ask Gift of the Givers why they're trying to question the Border Management Authority for doing its job. But Gift of the Givers is also an advocacy group. They've got a right to call DERCO or call the president the same way that any other NGO, if they want to advocate and try protect or influence decisions on behalf of the groups they represent, they are welcome to do that as long as they're not doing anything illegal. So Gift of the Givers can't be criticized for calling DERCO and saying, hey, there are people here who are stuck. They can't be criticized for that. Any other group could have done that, any other NGO. But we must be able to say to Gift of the Givers, what exactly did you expect our officials to do when people are arriving with no stamped passports, with no proof that they've got a ticket to return back home, so they're not visitors, but also they're not asylum seekers? So what, just let them out into South Africa without following the law? That's where I agree that the question must be asked.
The beeping machines, the hospital smells, the moments of fear. And all that remains is what matters most.
Dad's home!
Because recovery isn't about the procedure or the paperwork. It's about getting back to the people and places that matter to you. Bonitas, Medical Aid for South Africa. Voted #1 medical aid in the Ask Africa Orange Index Awards for the second year running. Visit bonitas.co.za and find your plan.
Building a life across borders starts with choices. Visas, a second passport, citizenship, your child's education abroad. And sometimes those choices can be overwhelming. For 30 years, Sable International has simplified global mobility, including cross-border tax, forex, and wealth management, helping you make the right choices with expertise and care. Build your future beyond borders. Visit us at sableinternational.com.
The Dial-A-Bed Black Friday sale is now on with 20% off absolutely everything. Start Black Friday shopping today and save thousands on all our best brands. 40 Winks, Sealy, Simmons, Dunlopillow, King Coil in all sizes, all less 20% and all ready for fast delivery. Dial-A-Bed. Sleep for life.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I am Sfiso Zulum. Gauteng Premier Manyathela Show's future in office hangs in the balance as he's set to face a vote of no confidence in the provincial legislature today. The bid for his ousting filed or was tabled by the DA 3 weeks ago. The party wants Lesotho out of Gauteng's top office due to his recent controversy over the discontinuation of the crime prevention wardens. Alfara Mushwana reports.
In an effort to tackle both unemployment and rising crime in the province, Gauteng Premier Manyathela Show launched the crime prevention wardens shortly before last year's general elections. While some welcomed the initiative as a way to address both challenges, others questioned the legality of creating such a unit. Now, more than a year later, it has emerged that the formation of the crime prevention wardens was not backed by any legal mandate. DA leader in Gauteng, Solim Simanga, says this is enough for Lesotho to pack his bags.
You would remember, I was ridiculed, or we were ridiculed when we then said this is an illegal act. We then said you cannot just make an announcement of the appointment of people that is going to cost billions of rands.
The ANC governs Gauteng through a minority coalition in the provincial legislature, meaning it will need the backing of opposition parties to keep Lesotho in office. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
Humanitarian aid group Gift of the Givers says keeping 153 Palestinians inside a plane for 12 hours is unacceptable. The travellers were yesterday left stranded on the tarmac at OR Tambo International Airport. Border police couldn't immediately get them off the aircraft because they didn't have the required customary departure stamps to disembark. The group landed from Kenya yesterday morning on the charter flights operated by South African airline Global Airways. Gift of the Givers chairman Imtiaz Suleiman says this should not have happened because their organization had already agreed to accommodate them when they arrive.
Gift of the Givers calls on our president, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, to investigate the Department of Home Affairs and the Border Management Authority for the inhumanity, the lack of empathy, the total disgrace and humiliation they've caused the Palestinian people. 153 refugees waiting on the tarmac of OR Tambo Airport for 13 hours.
Cabinet has endorsed ongoing talks with the International Olympic Committee that could pave the way for South Africa to submit a bid for either the 2036 or the 2040 Games. The South African Sports Confederation and Olympic Committee SASCOC has been in continuous dialogue with the IOC regarding South Africa's prospects. Zimbabwe's Kirsty Coventry is the first woman and the first African to be elected as the president of the prestigious body earlier this year. Cabinet says it believes South Africa is ready to host the world's biggest sporting event given its available infrastructure. The country has already hosted a Rugby World Cup in 1995, a Cricket World Cup in 2003 and a FIFA World Cup in 2010. The next Cricket World Cup in 2027 will again return to South Africa in conjunction with Zimbabwe and Namibia. Minister in the Presidency Khumbudzo Ntshavheni was speaking at a post-cabinet briefing yesterday.
The continuous dialogue with the IOC is a preliminary and exploratory engagement that is critical to advance South Africa's intention to bid for the hosting rights of the Olympics and Paralympic Games in 2036 or 2040.
More horrifying accounts are emerging from the war in Sudan. Survivors of the bloody takeover of Al Fashir have walked for days through deserts, past bodies and armed men, desperate to escape the Sudanese city now overrun by paramilitary forces. They have described scenes of terror as nearly 100,000 people fled the last army stronghold in western Darfur after its fall to Sudan's Rapid Support Forces in late October. Local authorities say around 50,000 people have reached Al Daba since the RSF besieged Al Fashir in May 2024. Over more than 2.5 years, the war between the RSF and Sudan's army has killed tens of thousands of people, displaced nearly 12 million, creating what the UN calls the world's worst humanitarian crisis. Talks for a humanitarian truce remain stalled as both sides consolidate their territorial control and political legitimacy. Director General of the International Organization for Migration, Amy Pope, has called for an international corridor.
Yeah, we've seen about 90,000 people who have fled the city. We know that most of them are still located somewhere in the state, but at least 90,000 have been displaced, and many of those people who had been displaced previously during the last 18 months.
Gold is trading at $4,192.17 an ounce. The rand is at 17.03 to the dollar, 22.39 to the pound, 19.83 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $63.97 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got heavy delays on the Mike 1 North between Boysons Road and the Crown Interchange, about a 20-minute hold-up here. This is due to the long-term roadworks that are taking place along this route. Please be on the lookout and drive with care. More roadworks are causing delays, unfortunately, on the N3 North. This is between Marlborough Drive and the Baklui Interchange.
A cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng with isolated afternoon showers and thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 25 and 27 degrees. The top story in EW in this hour, Gauteng Premier Manyathela Show's future in office hangs in the balance as he's set to face a vote of no confidence in the legislature.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
Nine minutes after 10 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702, and thank you for all your contributions on the 702 open line. Keep listening to 702. I promise, hopefully by midday, we'll have some more clarity around what happened yesterday at the airport. We've tried to at least give you a sense based on what the Palestinian ambassador has said. We did reach out to the Israeli Prime Minister's spokesperson, who told us that I've seen your request. The producers asked her specific questions and she said she was considering them, but she hasn't responded to us. But I'm sure throughout the day here on 702, you'll hear more about particularly the most contentious issue of who paid for that flight to be chartered. Who paid for that flight to be chartered? Let's hope we'll get clarity for you sometime today during the day on 702. Time now for our Across the Desk feature.
Across the Desk
with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
On our Across the Desk feature today, I want us to have a conversation about NGOs, NPOs, and how they function, because they play a critical role. It's actually interesting because just before we wrapped up the 702 open line, there were some of you that were calling about scrutiny that's required on some NGOs. But I think they do play a pivotal role, particularly in this country, often stepping in where government systems seem to be falling short. They have provided social support, advocacy, community development, whether you talk about child protection, education, human rights, economic empowerment. These are organizations that have often become the backbone of civil society. And I want us to really understand how they go about doing their work, the pressures, because it's not easy to run an NGO, I can only imagine. Especially now when you've got international funding beginning to dwindle as well, the pressure that you are facing as well. So my guest today in studio, we've got Dr. Shahida Omar. You've heard her before on this station, the director at Teddy Bear Clinic, joining us in studio. Dr. Omar, thank you so much for making time. Good morning.
Morning to you and morning to the listeners, and thank you for this great opportunity.
Thank you for coming through. We also have Tebogo Gas, who's also been on this station before, who is the founder and director of Public Interest South Africa. Tebogo, thank you for also making time. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me, Clement.
Thank you so much. Let's start with, just for the benefit of some of our viewers that may not know what advocacy you do and what your organizations represent. Dr. Omar, just give us a sense of the Teddy Bear Clinic and what you advocate for.
So the Teddy Bear Clinic is an organization that works with victims of child abuse, all forms of abuse, physical, sexual, purposeful neglect, child trafficking, victims that victimize other children. So we provide both medical, legal support and psychosocial support to victims of child abuse and their families. It's an integrated and holistic, comprehensive approach to service delivery. I think you asked the question of advocacy, and I think that's a very important thing, because working on a micro level where we're providing therapeutic support, assessments, and further interventions with referral pathways to other stakeholders, we also look at the violation of children's rights. Where children's rights are violated, we then act on behalf of children, giving the voiceless a voice. Children's voices are not heard, and they are often the invisible beings that are left to their own pain and trauma. So just to give you an idea that historically, over the years, when we have seen these omissions, and it's glaring omissions where children have been subjected to secondary victimization and further trauma with the pieces of legislation, we've actually stepped in. If we look at the Sexual Offences Act, sections 15 and 16, where an application was made to the highest court, the Constitutional Court, and we were successful in decriminalizing, sexual activities of children. Furthermore, even corporal punishment, and then the statute of limitations, where amended relief was provided both to children and adults. So we know that for rape, there was no statute of limitations, but for sexual violence, there was a period of 20 years, and that has been relieved. So that is the kind of work that we also engage with, ensuring to promote children's rights.
Yeah, and Bratabogo, at Public Interest South Africa, what do you do?
Yeah, thank you, Clement. What we do, we were founded in 2008, and what we really focus on is three key areas. First of all, areas of governance, and advancing constitutionalism, and ensuring that there's ethical citizenship. Our motto is, let's make our democracy work. So what that tells you is that whatever it takes to ensure that we live up to the promise of the Constitution, we do that. And we do that by holding power to account mainly, and also advocacy, as well as programs that we do also use to actually put to effect the kind of message that we want to espouse, And we loosely put, we operate at the intersection of governance, justice, and ethics. So all that talk to one thing. And if you look at our four main programs that we have, we've got on the one side, we've got economic inclusion, you've got governance and ethics, where you'd find the likes of whistleblowing, electoral integrity project, those falls under that. And then you also have under procurement, public procurement or open procurement, we'd have the procurement barometer, which seeks to see that there's compliances with procurement prescripts in the public sector. And then last but not least is where we talk about justice and equity, where we've got the rule of law as a key project that we have there. The rule of law, what we do is we partner, as we have with the South African Police Service, Business Against Crime, and other like-minded institute, whereupon we seek to see how can we improve policing. Because it's one thing to advocate, it's one thing to criticize from the outside, but you must be able to go in there and see what it is that is happening, and how best can you be able to also lend a helping hand, small as it might be our hand is. So that's in broad terms, that is the space that we're seeking to do. We are obviously known more about our whistleblowing efforts, which programs like the Whistleblower Awards and Whistleblower Summit we started 3 years ago, our flagship projects. But we hope that electoral integrity is also going to be key, because we've seen the edifice of our democracy being knocked, especially if you look at what happened in the last election, national elections. There's a lot at stake. Who would have dreamt crafting a constitution that one day will have people appearing before courts or convicts serving as members of parliament. In fact, funny enough, last night I was attending a lecture by former Chief Justice Raymond Zondo at Wits, where it is quite clear that if we become inactive, in other words, to let things be or go on like this, we might end up in a situation where even the JSE, for example, is filled by 12 former convicts who decide who would be the next Chief Justice because of how it is constituted, not Chief Justice, how most of the judges would be in terms of how they get elected in the JSE. So that is a worrisome situation where we as civil society, we as ordinary citizens ought to be active and make sure that we participate in this democracy.
Do you find that there's more scrutiny now on NGOs, on NPOs? Because I don't think anybody who's heard what you guys have said now would be weird for thinking you don't play a critical role in this constitutional democracy. I don't know where we would be without organizations like yourselves. But there's more scrutiny now in NGOs. There are questions around the credibility and integrity of NGOs, issues of who's funding them. Are they representing the interests of those who fund them? Or are they genuinely caring for the interests of South Africans? How do you navigate that?
So I think you raise such an important thing, because if we look at irregularities with regard to funding and the service delivery, and as an NGO, the Teddy Bear Foundation is primarily funded by the Department of Social Development, and there are stringent criteria for compliance. So there are a lot of rules and regulations that have to be fulfilled, and it is very, very rigorous. Previously, we found that in the child protection sector, a lot of the people that worked in the sector did not undergo the rigorous screening and vetting that is now currently required. And that is, I think, an absolutely great move and initiative to ensure that people who come into contact with children need to undergo those processes. So, yes, there's a lot of brutal scrutiny because of the extent of the incidence and prevalence of abuse. And we know that children are the most marginalized population group, and children with disabilities even more so. So the victimization, to prevent that secondary victimization, there's a lot of emphasis on also transparency. So even with regard to the funding that has been received, the audits, where funders are also very thorough in their site visits, in their request for reports, to ensure that the services that are being delivered and the services that they are funding are actually what we are reporting to. So 2 and 2 has to equal to 4. And I think that is, that's a positive move. I think furthermore, it requires a lot of effort and sound financial governance with regard to reporting and maintaining the actual documentation for any kind of inspection.
Are you allowed to receive private funding as well on top of the funding you get from social development?
Yes, so we need to, social development basically funds only the posts, not the operational costs. So any overhead and admin costs, the organization has to then ensure that they have to augment that. So yes, of course, we reach out to private donors, to corporate funders, to any opportunity, high net worth individuals, but also generating income through events.
Okay, and you don't feel awkward sometimes when you have to take on government? Because now they're also funding some posts.
Well,
and
you
they may
raise
feel
something
entitled.
very critical, and I think it's not about taking government on. I think it's about creating that awareness and holding people accountable. As we are held accountable, and we need to be accountable, so do our counterparts, our stakeholders, our funders. So it's not actually taking them on, but making and ensuring that they do what they've committed themselves to fulfill.
Yes, and what the Constitution requires of them.
Indeed.
Because in the past, back in the day at GCIS, certain advertisements were pulled from certain newspapers because they were reporting, and exposing the rot in government. So sometimes our government can be weird like that. And for you, Ratebogo, how do you navigate the issue of funding and scrutiny and the questions around the integrity of NGOs?
Clement, I wish we had the problem similar to what Dr. Omar and many of our brethren and other sister organizations out there have, because we are not funded. For the past 17 years, we've never received a single donation. The only funding that actually does filter through is when we have an event such as the Whistleblower Summit and Awards, where you'd have organizations contributing through sponsorship certain amounts. Even that, in large part, it doesn't even cover most of the rolling out the whole event. And we wish we could afford so many other things. But we are happy because we are not beholden to somebody knocking on our door and saying, this is how you must do, this agenda that you must push. But we would appreciate funding because funding makes it easier for us to actually make sure that we can carry on our mandate to serve and be much more effective in terms of reaching out and being able to deliver on this. Yes, certain projects such as the Electoral Integrity Project, it's something new still in the formative stages. We expect that it will be funded, but that is something that we hope over time will make it independent outside of public interest, because then we envisage that it will be a multi-stakeholder type of initiative. But in terms of funding itself, we actually operate more as a body of full-time volunteers, only 2 full-time employees. And you ask yourself, how are you able to pull up so many things without funding? I honestly don't know, because every time I wake up, I say, did we really get that event done or that initiative done? I'll give you an example, such as recently we had the Whistleblowers Awards. Many people don't realize how much things fell through the cracks, only because we don't have the capacity to be able to do certain things, effectively or in a manner that would do justice to the kind of recognition that we would like to.
You would think that there are organizations that would back a campaign or a program like that, given the important work of whistleblowers.
Yeah.
I mean, what more than appreciate the people who have sacrificed so much to expose the rot and say, we see you and we're grateful, because what that does is encourage a Thabo or a Clement somewhere who's seeing the rot but who's scared and sees that actually there's a repositioning that's happening around our approach to whistleblowers.
In fact, that's a very pertinent question, Clement. I mean, I remember for example, you'd think that corporates would encourage ethical citizenship, would encourage whistleblowing. But in South Africa, as it probably is the case elsewhere around the world, you find that those who speak out tend to also become a burden to corporates themselves, who should be sponsoring initiatives such as this, because they are more concerned about their reputation. They are more concerned, they don't want to be associated with somebody who may have blown the whistle, in large part because in terms of their prospective clients or existing clients, it might be a problem in terms of business development, because they might say, hey, you hire that person that left National Treasury or that left GCIS that you used, and therefore you find most whistleblowers experiencing hardship, retaliation, and business itself. They've got lots of ethics officers. You think they've got the very best, some of the best looking whistleblower policies and guidelines. But you ask yourself, when the tire hits the road, the tire hits the road, very little actually you get to see by way of support. But we are not being very negative to business, because we are grateful to those who find that they can associate with. There are law firms that seek to see how can we help. There are SOEs, for example, say how can we help? What is it that little we can be able to do to make this work? But yes, definitely there's a lot that business need to be doing. But also because how we speak out sometimes, maybe it might not necessarily make some businesses comfortable. Because if you look from an integrity and ethics point of view, businesses fail quite a lot. In fact, look at yourself, they call it shrinkflation, but actually it's fraud. Because you go and buy a packet of chips, it's all mainly hot air inside. Oh, well, it's cold by the time you drink, you have it. But large part of it is very little chips. And then consumers pay, the price increases. Yeah. I've gone to Twitter one day to say, look at what I bought at one retailer. Yeah. It was a very nice looking sandwich, but there was half the meat. The rest of the bun was filled with nothing. So integrity is what you do when people are not looking. When you pack that sandwich or when you instruct somebody to prepare that sandwich, make sure that you do it in such a manner that you'll be happy when customers consume it.
26 minutes after 10 o'clock. Do you work in the NPO sector? What do you enjoy about it? What are the challenges for you guys? I'd like you to share your experiences with us. I'm hosting Dr. Shahida Omar, who's the director of Teddy Bear Clinic, and Teboho Khas, who's the founder and director of Public Interest South Africa.
Brush, stroke, paint, color, protect, and admire. From roof paint to exterior textures and interior silk, Warrior Paints has it all. The product range and stylish colors are amazing. And what's more, Warrior Paints has crushed prices for incredible savings. Enjoy that good old-fashioned personal service you deserve. For price, quality, variety, and service, Warrior Paints is streets ahead. Warrior Paints. Affordable, lasting luxury.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 Rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 Rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Take the ultimate spin with 10Bet and me, Andy Lengube, to win a luxury BMW X3. Join 10bet.co.za. Play selected games. Every 10 rands you play earns you points. Hit the top of the leaderboard and the prize could be yours. T's and C's apply. 10Bet is a licensed betting operator and supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 shall be permitted to bet. Betting can be addictive. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710. License number 921096661.
Across the desk
with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
28 minutes after 10 o'clock, we are hosting NGOs or NPOs, if you want to call them that, on our Across the Desk feature this morning. And I know there's some of you who work in NGOs and NPOs. I want you to share your experiences with us. And if you've got questions for my guests as well, please, you're welcome to call us on 011-883-0702. There are WhatsApps coming through as well on 072-702-1702. I'm going to ask that we put on our headphones as we go to the WhatsApp voice notes.
Sure, Clement. I had a friend of mine who wanted us to start an NGO because of the possibility of funding from America and how much money we're going to make. I obviously wasn't for the idea because I don't think an NGO is supposed to be a money-making scheme. However, I assume we need to survive. So can you please ask your gentleman there in the NGO business, how do you survive if it's a non-profit organization? So do you just do it, or do you get some of the donations and use them to buy food and electricity for home?
Hi, Clement and the team. My question to your guests is, since they can be funded by private donors, have you faced a challenge where some of your donors try to influence you to move away from an advocacy group to more a critic group or a pressure group? Thanks, David.
All right. Thank you so much, David. Two questions that I'll get my guests to respond to after the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. It's exactly 10:30. Sviso, good morning.
Thanks, Clements. Good morning. The DA in Gauteng says it has lobbied most political parties in the provincial legislature to support its motion of no confidence against Premier Panyathela Lesufi. The legislature is currently hearing Lesufi's no confidence vote. The motion was prompted by the recent disbandment of the Gauteng crime prevention wardens, which Lesufi established without any constitutional mandate. And the ambassador to South Africa says Palestinians who arrived in the country might have been misled by a non-governmental organization that has sent them to other countries from war-torn Gaza. Some of the travelers yesterday landed at OR Tambo International Airport on a chartered plane. It's understood that the flight firstly departed from an airport in Israel, went to Kenya, then arrived on South African soil. And U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has called for international action to cut off the supply of weapons to Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces who are accused of mass killings in Al Fasher. At the end of a G7 foreign ministers meeting in Canada this week, Rubio said that the RSF had committed systemic atrocities, including murder, rape and sexual violence against civilians. Sudan's army accuses the United Arab Emirates of propping up the RSF with weapons, but the UAE and the RSF have repeatedly denied these allegations. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, traveling on the N3 North, we still have got those roadworks. This is causing delays between Marlborough Drive and the Baklu interchange. There's also queuing traffic due to more roadworks. This is along the Markwan North between Boysons Road and the Crown interchange. Please be on the lookout there. While traveling in Sandton CBD, we've got delays. This is along Rivonia Road, just as you approach Sandton Drive. An earlier accident is causing these delays, so please be on the lookout there and continue driving with care. If you are heading towards Cosmo City via the N14 West, we've got some delays just as you approach Malibongwe Drive, about a 15-minute hold up there. Please be on the lookout and drive with care. More updates at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Across the desk
with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
10:32 on our Across the Desk feature this morning. We're having a conversation about NGOs or NPOs, and I'm asking you if you are in the sector. I'd like to share with us what really interests you for being part of the NGO sector. What are some of the challenges for you? Do you sometimes face pressure from the donors? How do you navigate the questions around integrity, especially lately, that is being placed, and the pressure on NGOs? But we've got two questions that came through before the headlines. One was about how you survive, particularly directed at you, Taboho, and then there's also another question around any pressure from the donors sometimes. Can we start with you?
Yeah, how do I survive? That's a very pertinent question. Can I take this off? My political upbringing, nascent days in the 80s as a university student and as Azanian student movement activist, we used to survive with very little. One of those organizations, you don't understand, the Pan-Africanist and the Black Consciousness movement did not enjoy the kind of support that the others did. And that instilled in some of us that sense, that value of saying you can do more with little. You can still do more with little. You don't have abundance. And if anything, COVID showed us that you can actually do more with little. When we had little to earn, little, especially those who are not on salaries, and you are able to say, what is it that can be able to stretch with the little I have? How do I survive? I do run a small consultancy, a strategic advisory agency. And the little that comes out of that, unfortunately, as most of it finds its way into the passion that drives me to run public interest. And I'm not a popular father, I think, with my kids. Well, they're no longer kids, they're adults, all of them. But the point being that you're being able to learn to share the little that you might have. And by any stretch of imagination, it's not that we don't reach out. We've got billionaires, friends that we know. You reach out, and most of the time what we realize is that people with deep pockets often to have the shortest hands, as the saying goes. And we find that people don't understand that a narrative that they align with. You get SMSs, people say, hey, we like what you said, we like what you do. But I said, can you chip in? Just to make it lighter for us to be able to, to maintain this initiative. But you find that you struggle insofar as people being in. And I don't want to paint everyone with the same brush, because there are individuals who are really committed to philanthropy, who are able to assist and chip in when the need arises.
Dr. Omar, obviously you work a lot with the children. Is there really any pressure at all that you sometimes face from the donors, people who donate?
Well, I think, of course, the donors all have specific goals, objectives, and they want, they have their CSI departments where they want us to focus on specific interventions or programs. And that does influence what we deliver, because, if a funder says jump, you say how high, because they are the ones that are funding the programs and making it possible to happen on the ground. However, I think earlier my colleague alluded to the fact of speaking out, speaking up, and it's how you speak out. We have rights and we have responsibilities. And certainly our focus is on promoting the best interests of the child, the rights of children, and the responsibilities to ensure that that needed service or intervention that is desperately requested on the ground is what we need to provide. So we negotiate leverage with funders as well. Yes, there is a level of agreement or negotiation, but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's doing the right thing, what is best for the child. And I cannot say that funders do not influence the service provider. They do have
Yeah.
a certain level of influence.
What's your interest with children? And I'll ask Tebogo the same question around just the work that the NGO is doing. Because you could have gotten into a different kind of an NGO that advocates for different interests. What is it with children? What piqued your interest and made you want to work in a sector like that?
So the bottom line is that children, as I said earlier, their wounds are so deep, they're so invisible, and they're not in a position to articulate what they are feeling. But the positive side of it is, having worked with children for more than 35 years, we've seen that children who come in broken and are totally in a state of helplessness, hopelessness, and when they receive that kind of support, containment, hope, they leave with some sense of resilience. And something that always sticks to my mind, which you've probably heard me say before, where children have actually said, growing up through the therapeutic journey, where they've said that, you know, the abuse does not define me, the abuse does not punctuate who I am. And that is something that motivates one, that there is hope for every child, provided they are given that support, containment, opportunity to turn that crisis into an opportunity. We've seen many children turn their lives around despite the devastating circumstances, and we've seen them growing into academic careers, pathways, holding responsible positions of employment, etc. So that is something that drives us, because in the NGO sector, there isn't money. You are absolutely correct. I could be a consultant. I could be working for myself. Unfortunately, that's not what fills the hole in the heart.
Yeah. What fills the hole in the heart for you? Why are you interested in this?
What fills the hole in
Could
my...
be playing golf and just consult.
Poor golf, let's add. Save for the hole in one that I had many months ago, but that's about the only thing I can claim to. What drives me, perhaps my formative years informed me or shaped me into my being. And when I needed help, or adults around me were not as responsive as I was hoping for, it sort of instilled in me a sense of the kind of person that I perhaps would like to be when I'm grown. And that is why I tend to gravitate more towards those who are in need, or towards those who are experiencing trauma or experiencing retaliation or whatever, hardship of sorts. But you ask yourself then, why is it that you still continue to do it if it's, as you rightly put, I'm an IT person, but I don't know anything about IT these days, because that was 40 years ago and things have changed. But you ask yourself, when you look at whistleblowers, take whistleblowers as an example, you look at the kind of contribution that they've made to society and how they face retaliation. You know, the kind of hardships that some of them lose their livelihood, some of them get ostracized from society, or even from corporate themselves and even government. And you ask yourself, if I can just be there, just to say, I'm here to listen, is there anything that I can, given my constraints, be able to assist? And you see somebody, the comfort that it brings to somebody else, that for me drives me to actually, do more if I can, insofar as what I'm able to do. But also, I think I would like to also touch to one of the points that Dr. Omar made earlier around, funders putting pressure on NGOs. It is a very valid issue. And in fact, us as NGOs also hold ourselves to the highest level of ethical rigor than as we expect, or more than we expect of others, whether it's government or private sector. I'm saying this because just for last year, and I'm not going to be mentioning names, just ahead of our Whistleblower Awards, when the nominations had closed, one of the prominent NGOs in the space of whistleblowing, the CEO or one of the executive director, writes to us, can you please nominate this person and award them? I said, but to start with, don't you know that the closing days for nominations have long gone past? You want me to do something that isn't ethical? Because why? This company, this man or this person, you want to reward them because their company somehow contributes to your cause, and that is not ethical. So if we want to hold government to certain accountability standards, we also have to live up to those standards, or even more. So it is you have to make choices. Sometimes the choices are very difficult to make because you end up ostracizing even the same civil society that you would also wish to partner with. But you have to stand up for the truth. If I'm going to act like that against government or other entities, I must just as well do it with those that I love, which is the civil society. So we also have that conversation to have with it. Even some of us within this NGO space, we actually act against each other, either as gatekeepers or trying to make sure that we wish others to fall and not succeed. Competing, unhealthy competition. And some of us occupy positions, even in state-funded institutions, that actually can determine who gets to participate in and out of these things. I mean, you ask yourself about G20. You ask yourself how many NGOs out there that could have something to do with whistleblowing are actually playing a role in the anti-corruption working group of the G20. I'm listening. I'm waiting.
And absolutely. 17 minutes now before 11 o'clock. Adele in Parkview, I'll start with your call after the break. We're also going to take your WhatsApps on 072 702 and 702.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays,
12 to 1.
The Gauteng Premier came on the show to speak about the Amapanyaza. The fact that the Amapanyaza had been disbanded. Well, they said that they were going to be trained in various positions. One of the entities that would be training them would be the Road Traffic Management Corporation, and they could potentially become traffic wardens. Well, it seems as there is a real problem, and that is because the Road Traffic Management Corporation has got some serious problems of its own.
The Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
There's something magical about booking your next getaway. Whether you're flying for business or leisure, Airlink is ready to take you there in premium comfort. With over 45 destinations in 15 African countries, Airlink connects you throughout Southern Africa and beyond. No middle seats, just wider window or aisle seating. And yes, free luggage, snacks and beverages are still our thing. Plus, our Skybucks frequent fly program rewards you every time you fly. Book on flyairlink.com or your travel agent. Fly Airlink, the freedom of the African sky.
Access to the internet is vital for any country to grow. That's why the recent 6.75 billion rand digital infrastructure deal that Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking facilitated between Telkom and an Actors-led consortium is so transformational for South Africa. It unlocks growth and provides internet access to underserved communities who will now have access to the internet for the very first time. Search CIB Stories of Impact to watch the full story.
Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
You want a new car, but prices keep climbing, the timing doesn't feel right, the deals are never good enough. Until now. The Motor Select Demo Deal Dash is back this Friday and Saturday only. Get up to 100,000 Rand trade-in assist on over 1,800 demo models across 26 leading brands, all backed by SA's largest and leading dealer network. It's just 2 days. Visit motorselect.co.za to shop our demo range now.
Across the Desk
with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
15 minutes before 11 o'clock. Adele, you're calling us from Parkview. Good morning.
Hi, Clement. How are you?
I'm all right, thanks. I'm told
Good.
are a board member of an NGO.
Yeah, I'm a director on the board of the NPO Surgeons for the Lives, which is at Baragwanath Hospital. We've been going for 10 years, and one of the things I think that we have faced, or part of what's partly made us successful, is the fact that we're incredibly transparent about fees and admin fees, etc., versus the amount of money that actually goes to the kids. Our thinking is that it's a very unregulated territory in our country. So there's no real transparency around whether board members take fees, and we all volunteer, so none of us take fees. And I think that it becomes, with donor fatigue, it becomes even more important for people to understand that they need to know where exactly the money is going and evidence of it to ensure that the majority of the funds are going to the cause. And I mean, I think in our country, there's some NGOs and NPOs that just get away with like 45%, of the money brought in goes to running it and salaries, etc. And it's just way too high. So I think our transparency has been part of our success, where our fees have been extremely low, and therefore our donors know that the majority of the fees are going directly to the kids.
Oh, man. What's the name of that NGO again, Adele?
Surgeons for Little Lives.
Oh, man. Thank you so much for the work you do, Adele. I really think, you guys really give us hope. You do. I was having a conversation the other day about what I'm calling the spirit of sacrifice. And I was saying, what happened to that spirit that sort of guided the people who fought for democracy, because they sacrificed so much. Like they were willing to sacrifice because they had a bigger goal. And sometimes you feel like we don't have that anymore. But here are people who are actually doing so much work when they don't have to, but they're sacrificing, they are spending their own monies, they are volunteering, they are taking jobs, and they could be making big bucks even in the private sector. And here they are because they care about the interests of the people they represent and advocate for. Adele, thanks for the work you do. Thanks for calling us from Parktown and sharing your experience with us. Here's some WhatsApp voice notes that have come.
Morning, Clement. This is such an important conversation. I also work for an NGO, and I help raise funds. And the problem we always encounter, people are more than willing to fund the project itself and to help people, but they are not willing to pay for operations. And sometimes the budget for the operations is a lot more than the budget of actually doing the project, because you have to pay multiple people to run a specific project. I just want to know how your guests feel about this.
Morning, Clement and your guests. I greatly appreciate the work done by NPOs. I mean, I'm working today as a health promoter, but started working from as early as 1999 for different NPOs. And it is my wish that taking into consideration our youth unemployment rate in our country, that if young people could learn to do voluntary work for different NPOs, that would go a long way in giving them much needed experience and also improving their CVs as well. Thank you. Great show.
Clement and your guest there. My first job was with Development Action Group, which is an NGO in the housing space. It gave me a solid understanding of what being an activist in that space means. And it really gave me a good foundation. Sincere.
Thank you so much for your WhatsApp voice note. There was a question there, Dr. Amo, about when you raise funds, sometimes the funders don't want to pay for operations, but for the specific program. How do you navigate something like that? Is that something you also experience?
Indeed, I think that's been historically a long-standing battle where we've had to augment, as I said in the beginning of the interview, that we have a dedicated fundraising department, our donor liaison person who actually requests in-kind donations, funds, and we write proposals to respective corporates, etc., looking out for opportunities, because the operational costs are high. We need the barefoot soldiers on the ground to go out into the hotspot areas, the disadvantaged communities where they do not have any access to resources. And this, of course, means that a lot of time, human resources, and other resources are actually spent on the ground. So this is something that we continue fighting for, and we continue the struggle. I think what we need to also appreciate is that as an NPO, non-for-profit organization, we do not charge for our services. So everything that is provided, coming in not only with the self-actualization, the therapeutic interventions, but even post-COVID, where we've looked at food security and providing those kind of supportive measures to carry families through their, basic foods, like basic food and shelter challenges. We've had to reach out to funders and organize fundraising events. Looking at stationery, we take it for granted. End of the year, parents now need to provide that for children, but it's stationery, school bags, all of that comes with an investment. So those are the things that we continue fighting for, and we do not give up, but we reach out to high net worth individuals, to corporates, to financial institutions, and we have been, I would say, considerably successful in getting that kind of response where children are getting, some kind of support.
Yeah, 8 minutes before 11.
You are not dreaming. You are repeating. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
Summer's almost here, and so is the magic of the Stodels pot promotion. For a limited time, enjoy up to 50% off pots of every size, shape and color. Big or small, indoor or outdoor, plastic or ceramic. There's something special about finding the perfect pot, the one that brings color, life and joy to your garden. Hurry, this once-a-year event ends 16 November. Visit your nearest Stodels Garden Centre today. Stodels, create happiness.
The Dial-A-Bed Black Friday sale is now on with 20% off absolutely everything. Start Black Friday shopping today and save thousands on all our best brands. 40 Winks, Sealy, Simmons, Download Pillow, King Coil in all sizes, all less 20% and all ready for fast delivery. Dial-A-Bed, sleep for life.
Across the desk
with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
7 minutes before 11 o'clock. Let's go to some more WhatsApp voice notes on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Clement. This is Itumelen Hlapane from Sebokeng. A quick question to your guest there. Have they thought of the possibilities of transitioning into social entrepreneurship? And this question is just purely based on the idea that funding and donations are becoming a problem right now in South Africa. Like you rightfully put it, with what's happening around the world. Would they be, or have they considered transitioning into social entrepreneurship just for the purpose of sustainability? And my understanding of non-profit organizations is that building a beautiful legacy for your community in the country, but unfortunately, your family cannot enjoy the legacy and the benefits of that financially for over the years. I recently facilitated a workshop on social entrepreneurship for over 80 non-profit organizations last week in Gauteng. Thank you. I'm looking forward to hear from them and to get their opinion.
Okay, but what would be different then? So you're using what, business principles for, I suppose, your social, to create solutions to whatever issues you're still advocating for. You're still going to face the same issues at some point.
And the minute you also include the word entrepreneurship, there's an association with commercial.
Yeah.
Lest it be mistaken, NPOs are not necessarily meant to be loss-making entities. They have to be sustainable themselves. So even donors must understand that if you want me to go and execute that initiative, I have to drive my car. I have to answer my phone. I have to do certain things that may not necessarily go directly, as an expense item to the project itself. So there must have to be consideration. But the issue of transparency is very important, because NGOs or NPOs also have to be transparent with their funders. And the more you are able to leave to do the disbursements towards the project itself, the better it is. That NGOs, the funders would also be happy.
Yeah. Be on the WhatsApp line, says Clement, such an important topic. NPOs play a critical role in our communities, yet government and politicians remain detached from real issues. It is unfortunate that some NPO owners use the space for self-enrichment. We need stricter controls, especially since even those tasked with oversight are often part of the problem. I got a message from a woman who says, would you guys advise for children to do some work in NGOs before they get to varsity or while they're still in school? Could that assist?
Thank you. I think that's an excellent question that the person has raised, because at the Teddy Bear Foundation, we certainly encourage children and youth to get involved. So they're already learning about rights, responsibilities, but also, I think more importantly, empathy, understanding what it feels like to be in a challenging situation, to be a victim, but also learning solutions. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to mobilize children to become more solution-focused and then the rights-based approach where they are more informed in making choices moving forward. So we encourage children, of course, depending on the ages, age-appropriate activities. But I want to just respond quickly to the former call that was made around training and upskilling youth, learnerships, people coming in as volunteers. That is a platform we've actually encouraged and motivated a lot of young people to come on board, where they've become not only entrepreneurs, but also found themselves in positions where they are employable and have pursued further studies.
Yeah. Do you think it helps? Because I mean, we sort of like, we're raised in a generation where we're thinking about, I want to finish varsity because I want to just buy my dream house, my dream car. But the sense of service is lacking.
Absolutely. We need to encourage or inculcate in the minds of the youth this civic duty, because so far it has always been about my rights. I've got the right to smoke anywhere, don't tell me. I've got the right to misbehave in a school uniform, don't tell me anything. And even us as parents have abdicated our role insofar as ensuring that the youth or the young ones actually get to grow in an environment that teaches them empathy, that imparts the kind of values that most of us have grown up with. But I am somehow encouraged, if you look at institutions such as the University of Johannesburg, and I think UNISA and maybe a few others, they've already made ethics as a core requirement for any of the offerings that they have. So but it should start early. We should grab them while they're still young. At primary school, at high school, make sure that you introduce the issue of integrity, ethics. But we as parents have got a responsibility. When you see your child coming back from school with a cell phone or a jersey that don't belong to them, you should be able to tell them that's not yours. Take it back to where it belongs. But unfortunately, we keep a blind eye. That's how we end up with slave queens, because they have to keep up with the Joneses, because then, whatever it takes to have that most beautiful car or house.
Yeah, Tebogo Khaz, Dr. Shahida Omar, thank you so much. You've really inspired us. You've particularly inspired me. Thank you for the sacrifices you make and for the advocacy work that you make. I don't know where we would be without organizations like yours. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having us, Clement.
It's a minute before 11.
As leaders in renewable energy finance, Nedbank has a track record spanning over 100 years. From pioneering large-scale solar and wind farms to financing complex energy infrastructure in emerging markets, Nedbank offers clients deep sector expertise, combined with the ability to navigate the unique challenges of Africa's just energy transition. See money differently. Nedbank. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider.
Summer just got extra with Vodacom's free gifts on summer deals, like the Samsung Galaxy A56 on a 1 gig red core plan for just $399 per month over 36 months. Save 1,080 and get a free Samsung charger worth $499 and Samsung Galaxy Buds Core worth $999, redeemable via Samsung Members app. Available in-store only. T's and C's apply. Further together, Vodacom.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I am Sfiso Zulu. The DA in Gauteng says it has lobbied most political parties in the provincial legislature to support its motion of no confidence against Premier Manyathela Show. Members have this morning been hearing Lesufi's no confidence vote. The motion was prompted by the recent disbandment of the Gauteng Crime Prevention Wardens, which Lesufi established without any constitutional mandate. The DA also accuses the Premier of concealing several forensic investigation reports and mishandling matters surrounding Tembisa Hospital tender corruption. Speaking at a media briefing this morning, the DA Solim Simanga couldn't confirm whether his party has committed or other parties have committed to supporting the DA in its motion.
We might not have the numbers, and maybe I'll miss this with the first question. We don't want a secret ballot because we want the people of Gauteng to know who's voting for what. So political parties cannot continuously dupe the people of Gauteng and come to this house week in, week out, whenever we have sittings, and then, raise these issues.
Palestine's ambassador to South Africa, Hanan Jara, says the 153 Palestinians who arrived in South Africa may have been misled by a non-governmental organization that has been sending Palestinians to other countries from war-torn Gaza. Some of the travelers landed at OR Tambo International Airport yesterday on a chartered plane. It's understood that the flights initially departed from an airport in Israel, then went to Kenya before arriving in South Africa. A total of 130 Palestinians have now been admitted in the country after border police initially denied them entry for not meeting immigration requirements. Humanitarian group Gift of the Givers has guaranteed accommodation for them while they remain in the country on a 90-day visa-free entry. Jara explains how NGOs lure people into leaving Gaza.
So they say that what we can do is that we can help too. You pay us money. And some people, I was talking to some of the Palestinian citizens yesterday, the prices even vary. Some people are paying like 3,000 per person. Some families were paying 5,000 US dollars for family only to take them out, to put them in a plane and to secure their landing in one of the countries that is granting waiver of visa requirements for Palestinians.
President Cyril Ramaphosa has met with a group of CEOs who've joined an initiative to clean up Johannesburg. Earlier this year, Ramaphosa criticized Mayor Dada Morero for the failing state of the metro, highlighting bad infrastructure and a lack of adequate water and sanitation facilities. Since then, Ramaphosa has established a presidential working group to enhance service delivery in the city. Speaking in Soweto this morning, Ramaphosa says more people are now involved in boosting the initiative.
So I'm happy with the work that is being done. There are only 7 days to go before the G20 Leaders Summit. And I'll be going now to where the summit is going to take place to go and see the level of preparedness. But so far, so good.
And U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has called for international action to cut off the supply of weapons to Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces who are accused of mass killings in Al Fasher. At the end of a G7 foreign ministry meeting in Canada this week, Rubio said that the RSF had committed systemic atrocities including murder, rape and sexual violence against civilians. Sudan's army accuses the United Arab Emirates of propping up the RSF with weapons, but the UAE and the RSF have repeatedly denied these allegations. The RSF has been fighting the Sudanese army since April 2023, when a power struggle between their leaders erupted into an all-out civil war. Gold is trading at $4,192.17 an ounce. The rand is at 17.03 to the dollar, 22.39 to the pound, 19.83 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $63.97 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays. In fact, heavy traffic volumes on the N14 west heading towards Cosmos City, approaching Malibongwe Drive. Please be on the lookout there. There's also queuing traffic on the N1 South. This is between Rivonia Road and Winnie Mandela Drive. Roadworks are causing these delays. Please be on the lookout.
A cloudy Friday in store for Gauteng with isolated afternoon showers and thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 25 and 27 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. The DA in Gauteng says it has lobbied most political parties in the provincial legislature to support its motion of no confidence against Premier Manyathela Show today.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
6 minutes after 11 o'clock. Sanbonani, Dumelang, good morning. Welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. It's time for
Relationship issues
Relationship talk.
on 702.
Adult Radio. No kids are allowed this hour. We are having a discussion this morning on our relationship and sex feature about the giver/receiver dynamic during sex. Because in a sexual context, the terms giver and receiver describe the dynamic of who is primarily providing or receiving pleasure at any given moment. A healthy sexual relationship involves both partners comfortably taking on both roles and communicating their desires and boundaries. And this giver or receiver dynamic is not just connected to gender. In fact, not connected to gender entirely. Although society often reinforces stereotypes such as, well, women are supposed to be receivers and men are the givers in a heterosexual context. But research actually shows that people across genders benefit from fluidity in roles, right? The giver can be that person that focuses on providing the pleasure and satisfaction to their partner. They may derive perhaps significant enjoyment from seeing their partner's pleasure and feeling the control or intimacy involved in the act of giving. But in every sexual relationship, there is a subtle dance between the two, giving and receiving, between the partners who offer pleasure and the one who allows themselves to be pleasured. What do you connect with? Are you more of a giver or are you a receiver during sex? Are you the person who tries their best to give pleasure to your partner? Because there are people who say, I get satisfaction from pleasuring you. So when I see you having an orgasm or when I see you enjoying sex, that's what makes me enjoy the sex. Are you that kind of a person? Do you feel often that your enjoyment is secondary? Or do you actually enjoy being the person who is being pleasured? What are your specific roles here? I mean, we often hear that the best lovers are inherently generous. The givers of pleasure. However, it's important to also strike a balance with receiving, because when these roles become fixed or unbalanced, they can quietly shape desire, intimacy, and satisfaction in ways that couples don't always recognize. And the problem with that is that ultimately that leads to sexual resentment. So couples need a sort of harmonious balance that enhances connection rather than creating pressure or resentment. So what do you enjoy the most when you are in a sexual encounter? Do you consider yourself a receiver? Do you consider yourself a giver of pleasure? Do you get your own satisfaction from giving someone pleasure? Do you get satisfaction just from receiving? Give us your thoughts on 011-883-0702. You can also call us on 011-883-0702. WhatsApps, once again, 072-702-1702. Lisa Welsh is an accredited sex educator who's going to guide us through this conversation. Lisa, welcome back to the show. Good morning.
Hi, Clement. Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
I'm all right. I love the topic today, as always, and I can't wait to hear your insights. What are the giver and receiver roles during sex, like as practical as we can be, so that we lay the foundation for this conversation and listeners will be able to relate to exactly what we're talking about?
Well, being a giver, I guess, includes initiating. So being the one to initiate some kind of sexual encounter, guiding, being the one to kind of make the moves during sex, being the one who's doing most of the touching, coming up with ideas, suggestions, doing a lot of the heavy work, a lot of the physical work. Whereas receiving would be softening, allowing, being open, and letting pleasure happen. I mean, that's just like a kind of an overly simple way of putting it. But like you said, it can be all about generosity and willingness and openness. And there's so much to talk about. But yeah, that's like, in general, that's what a giver and a receiver would be doing.
So is it possible that there are people that naturally are just givers, people that naturally are just receivers? I mean, for givers, for instance, is it possible that you just have people who, will be the ones that say, okay, let's change the position, or as a giver, you're always the one giving oral sex, even if you're not getting it in return. You work towards making your partner have an orgasm. So that's your goal. Every time you want to make them have an effective, meaningful orgasm, even if you are not going to have an orgasm, or that naturally you're just a taker. You enjoy the experience when they go down on you, even if it means you'll climax faster and that's going to be the end of the game, or you stop when you're done, even if your partner isn't done. You don't like changing positions if you're uncomfortable, Could it be that naturally some people are just like that and that's the pleasure that they get?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Healthy sex isn't 50-50 all the time, right? Some people naturally do give more and some people naturally take, as you said, or receive more. Like, that's an interesting choice of words. But most of us shift from day to day. But being a giver is normal. Lots of people love giving, right? Especially a lot of women, even though there's also that idea that women should be receiving. But being a giver makes you feel competent, in control, because you're in control of what's happening if you're the one giving, connected, loved. It can make you feel valuable. It can make you feel safe. And so that can be what people get from giving. They know what's going to happen. They're not like left feeling vulnerable, like, uh-oh, where's this going to go? And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you are only giving, if you're only like never allowing yourself to be vulnerable or touched, then it can become a problem, right? So you can start to feel like you're not desired. It can get into a bit of a habit. But then being a receiver, like I don't want to like go give everything away straight away, but let's look at what being a receiver is also normal. It can be that you want to surrender, that you've got a really stressful job, or you just enjoy being touched, being chosen. You love the feeling of being wanted and desired. And like, that is so cool. Sometimes though, it can be that you're exhausted or you're overwhelmed, overstimulated, and you just don't have any energy left to like give anything else, right? And this is where it can then be, is it an issue? Is it becoming a little bit lazy? Are you kind of a pillow princess? So yes.
What's a pillow princess?
A pillow princess is this kind of it's somebody who just lays back and takes it, right? They're just like relaxing in the bed. They're not putting in much effort. I mean, we can go more into kind of how that might feel for the other person. And it's not about just being selfish. But it was interesting that you used the word taking, because it is taking, but it's okay to receive. Some people feel too shy to receive. So, yeah.
They want to take charge. I think you said something so important, Lisa, that I didn't even think about while I was reading up on this topic. The fact that for someone who is, let's say, a giver and they are not being given because they are dealing with someone who's consistently receiving, that may make them feel like they're not desired, because part of, giving is the person who receives does feel desired, don't they? Because, you're saying, let's rather do this. Let me go down on you. Let me give you oral sex. Let me do this. So you do feel desired in a way. And I think that's so important to note that for the givers, or maybe you are the receiver, you don't initiate, you don't maybe also say, let me do this for you. Let me give you oral sex today. That person may also not feel desired. And it's important that all of us feel desired for us to have a fulfilling, wholesome sexual experience.
Absolutely, yeah. And people can get stuck on one side or the other because it feels comfortable there. Because you can be nervous to change what you normally do, right? You can be nervous to receive because you might think, oh, what will they think of my body? Like, actually, I feel ashamed, like, especially with oral sex and especially with women. This is something I tend to see, that they feel nervous to receive oral sex because we've heard all of these myths around how vulvas taste and smell, and it's kind of gross, and then you kind of feel like you've got this low self-worth, you don't deserve attention, or you don't deserve to receive pleasure. Maybe you think you take too long to orgasm, and like there's that fear of being judged. And what if you ask for what you really like, and then they're going to think you're weird? So there can be a lot of shame that kind of keeps us in those roles as well.
Yeah, I get it. I mentioned earlier that there are often these stereotypes, around women, right, as receivers and men as givers. Even research does show that, across genders, genders benefit from the fluidity in the roles. Like there are women who want to take charge in bed. We're talking now heterosexual context. There are women who want to take charge, but there's this impression sometimes created, and I think sometimes women don't want to come through and be in charge because they're going to be seen like, this one. They use the B word sometimes to describe women who take charge in bed, right? Or, oh my God, why is she taking charge like that? This is so weird. You must always allow the men to lead. How do we start breaking down those stereotypes? Because as you've said, the fluidity of the two roles is important, but there's still this stereotype, and there are women that would love to do more things, women who would like to initiate, who would like to say to the husband as he walks in, or boyfriend or partner, and say, I want you to take off your clothes right now. I'm in charge. Do this. But they're scared to do that because they're going to be seen as, you know what.
Yeah, that's a great question. And you're right, those stereotypes are outdated. Pleasure and giving and receiving is not gendered. And in fact, there can be so much pleasure hidden in playing with those dynamics and seeing how it feels to take on a more empowered role and breaking any norms. We just tend to follow these scripts when it comes to sex. That's one person should be in this role, one person should be in this role, and we should do A, B, C, D in this order, and then we should be happy. But we're not. So many of us are dissatisfied in our sex life. And this is one of the ways breaking these kinds of stereotypes can really revive our sex life and pump up our sexual appetite. We think we've got no libido, but maybe we're all just bored. So what you can do to shift those dynamics and change those roles is speak about it a little. Say, how would it feel if I took charge tonight? Or I'm curious about being the one to lead you this evening, or I would like to invite you into this sexual encounter with me. And that feels very scary because of judgment. So one simple way that you can try to kind of break down that barrier is to both spend a date night putting together some sex menus, right? And it's like, what would a fun sex menu look like for you? What is the starter? Like, is there a little bit of foreplay? What is the main event? What is the aftercare? Right? So you can make a menu together. You can make a quickie menu. You can make a 4-hour menu. You can make her menu and his menu, right? So you've got these different ones, him being in the lead, her being in the lead, non-binary person being in the lead, right? You choose a few menus, and then when it comes to initiating, which makes so many people squirm with discomfort, like, oh, how do I initiate? You could say, what do you feel like tonight? Would you like to try something from this menu or this menu? And that feels far more inviting than just saying, oh, do you want to have sex? Or just grabbing someone's bum and expecting them
what
to
if
take
that's
the
what
hint.
gives you the edge, Lisa? What if when your person walks in, you want to rip their clothes apart and you don't want to ask them anything? You want to just take charge from the minute they walk in.
Well, go for it. But from what I see, a lot of people don't have that confidence yet.
Yeah.
Not to say they can't unlock it. This is a baby step. It means you don't necessarily have to say it, but you've created this menu and you could say, would you be open to this menu tonight? How about trying this? And, it can be as simple as being the one to lead the position, or being in a position where you are on top instead of at the bottom for once, right? Something like that. There can be simple steps. It can be taking your partner's hand and putting it where you want it. Like, that's taking the lead in a moment.
Yeah.
Doesn't require words, which might feel too hard to say, but those are small ways that you can start to take the lead and then be in more of a giving role.
Yeah.
And if you struggle with receiving, then I would recommend breathing, relaxing and just trying to be present in that moment while you're squirming and thinking, there's too much attention on me.
Yeah, it's 21 minutes after 11 o'clock. I've got some calls coming through, some WhatsApps as well, from our listeners. We'll get to them after the break. Are you more of a giver of pleasure, or are you more of a receiver of pleasure? And sometimes in relationships, there are partners that will feel insecure because their other partner just enjoys giving them pleasure. And you end up feeling like, but do I give you pleasure? Because you do not climax when I have sex with you, but you make me climax. And you end up feeling like, and when they tell you that, no, because actually that's my satisfaction, seeing you like that. But sometimes there's an imbalance like that where the next person also wants to see you climax like that. How do you balance things like that in your relationship? Are you the person who tries their best to give pleasure to your partner? Do you often feel that your enjoyment is secondary, or do you enjoy being the person who is being pleasured? 011-883-0702, WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702.
Josie, my Josie, a city made of swag, passion and resilience. Over here, we rise with the sun, Namateksi. We are a city of doers, creators and believers. When we unite, yonke into iyahlangana. From corner offices to corner veggie stalls or corner preacher and receipt. Josie, my Josie, a city where even those who were not born here are made here. Yabona la, citizenship is awarded to the curious. There's magic and beauty in our city, so we call on everyone to come experience it. Babiza bonke to come see Josie and all its people, because this city is all of us. Come witness our citizens do it. Babiza bonke to come see the actions of the invisibles, those building our city from the ground up, so we have a home we can all proudly call Josie, my Josie. Visit josiemyjosie.com to see how Josie does it.
Day 20, awaiting proof of payment. Day 30, still waiting. Day 40, funds finally cleared. In business, credit with 55 interest-free days keeps you moving. We get it. Get an Absa Business Credit Card. Use over 50% of your credit and initiation fees will be on us. Offer ends 31 December 2025. Apply at absa.co.za/business. Absa is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply. Absa, your story matters.
Make the winning move when you play Powerball and Powerball Plus for 42 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Friday. That's right. Play Powerball for an estimated 36 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 6 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120*7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. eTuba is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
Relationship issues
Relationship Talk
on 702.
24 minutes after 11 o'clock. Let's go straight to your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702.
I'm definitely a giver, Clement. I'd rather I don't come as long as my partner is thoroughly satisfied. And but I realized that this could be a problem at times, because then my partner would think that maybe there's something wrong with them, because in the minds of some ladies, if your man doesn't come, it means that they did not enjoy their time with you. But it's definitely not the case. I get my pleasure from how my partner looks, how my partner makes me feel, leading to the sexual act.
So, yeah, Lisa, because that can create conflict. And so how do you manage something like that then? When someone says, I get pleasure from seeing you in pleasure. When you have had an orgasm as my partner, I'm good. Like, we can even stop now. But then the other partner may feel that maybe they have not satisfied you. So is there a way to find a balance there to truly get your partner understand that no, the fact that you are satisfied means I'm satisfied? How do you negotiate that between couples?
Such a good question. And it's valid, right? It's valid to get your sexual pleasure from seeing your partner receiving pleasure from you. I think we have to get our head out of that script, like I just mentioned. Like, people enjoy and receive sexual pleasure from so many different things. And sometimes we can accept that somebody might receive sexual pleasure from looking at a shoe, but we can't accept that they can receive pleasure from giving you pleasure. So it's like getting out of our head and believing our partner, if they're communicating that to us, that they truly are so satisfied by giving you pleasure and seeing you having pleasure, then believe them if that is the truth, right? And you can have good communication to really make sure that their partner's not holding back and there's nothing behind it, that they're just really not just ashamed to be doing more or to be receiving. Like, you can gently talk about that and maybe even seek support from a sex therapist if that's something that is of a concern. But if there is no concern and this person is genuinely telling you this is all they want, this is what they enjoy, then I want to encourage people to believe each other, right? Believe each other, and maybe encourage them to try receiving in small doses to see how that feels. Yeah, but ultimately, communication is the goal. And if you're saying, this is what I want to do, this is what I want out of our sex life is to be giving to you, then trying to believe that. I mean, and it is a definite issue for some people, especially if the man doesn't ejaculate, that women in a heterosexual situation can feel so many things about that and blame themselves. But again, it all comes down to communication. Is there something else that you could be trying that he would prefer? That kind of thing. So depending on the circumstance, it's worth looking into communicating more. But ultimately, pleasure received however it's received is valid.
Here's another WhatsApp.
Morning, 702. This is Kamo here from Johannesburg. When it comes to oral sex, I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it. I don't want it. Don't even suggest it. It's not my thing. Tried it in the past. I don't get the hype. But I am all for giving my sugaring bing, my beautiful woman, my wife, oral. Seeing her get pleasure gives me pleasure. So seeing her excited, aroused, orgasm, getting pleasure makes me more excited, more aroused. But yeah, oral sex, you can try next door. There's no such in my house.
Try next door. Okay, where are the receivers also? Like, because a lot of the people calling, and also please, I want to hear from the ladies as well. The people calling are saying, yeah, I enjoy giving the pleasure and just seeing my partner going crazy and having a crazy orgasm gives me satisfaction. I want to hear from the receivers as well. But also, Lisa, here's my question. Doesn't this put a lot of pressure on the receivers? Because if the giver is satisfied from seeing you have an orgasm, that's why some women end up faking an orgasm. Because there's pressure now that, oh my goodness, the only way that my husband or my partner is actually going to be satisfied during sex is if I come. And there are women who fake it. Women have called on the show and said they fake orgasms all the time with their partners, with their husbands.
Absolutely.
And sometimes I feel like it's that pressure that is there, that because your husband has made it clear that for me, I'm satisfied when you come. Now, you're going to pretend like you're coming because otherwise your husband wouldn't have been satisfied.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And the pressure to receive is real. It's hard sometimes to receive, to have all of that attention on you and your body and your pleasure when we can be up in our minds and thinking about so many different things. So it just shows the truth of how vulnerable you'd need to be to have real, honest, authentic sex that feels good. It requires vulnerability. It requires so much honesty. Like, if somebody is saying, I'm only wanting to give to you, and you're saying, okay, great, but I would also like the benefit of giving sometimes. Because giving feels good. Giving, like we've said, makes you feel in control. Giving can be a turn on. And so it's about taking turns. It's like a dance, right? Somebody maybe wants to naturally lead, but it's fun when we take turns. And yes, then maybe we'll stumble and it will feel awkward and we don't always know the moves to the dance, but it is healthy to switch roles. It doesn't have to be with something specific, like that caller that said oral sex is off the table for him. That's okay. You don't have to receive something that you are unwilling to do. You can have boundaries, you can have limits, and that's completely valid. One thing that I would like to gently invite to listeners who feel like oral sex isn't for them is whether that is because they don't enjoy it or because there's shame that comes up with it. That sometimes is the case for people, that they find that, oh, it's just too awkward to have somebody's mouth there. And it's not because they don't enjoy how it feels, but it's because they don't believe that they, that their partner is truly enjoying it. So yes, a healthy dynamic would have a range, the give and take, both initiating, both guiding, both offering touch.
11:31. Let's get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Khomotso, hi.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. The DA in Gauteng says it's lobbied most political parties in the provincial legislature to support its motion of no confidence against Premier Panyaza Lesufi. Members have this morning been hearing Lesufi's no confidence vote. The motion was prompted by the recent disbandment of the Gauteng Crime Prevention Wardens, which Lesufi established without any constitutional mandate. Palestine's ambassador to South Africa says the 153 Palestinians who arrived in South Africa may have been misled by a non-governmental organization that's been sending displaced people to other countries from war-torn Gaza. Some of the travelers landed at OR Tambo International Airport yesterday on a chartered plane. It's understood that the flight initially departed from an airport in Israel, then went to Kenya before arriving at OR Tambo International Airport. And President Cyril Ramaphosa has met with a group of CEOs who've been joined in an initiative to clean up Johannesburg. Earlier this year, Ramaphosa criticized Mayor Dada Morero for the failing state of the metro, highlighting bad infrastructure and a lack of adequate water and sanitation facilities. Since then, Ramaphosa has established a presidential working group to enhance service delivery in the city. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at midday, or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Traveling in the city of Tshwane, there's queuing traffic on the N14 south approaching Euphus Road. Roadworks are causing these delays. Please be on the lookout there. While traveling towards the Flying Saucer turn off, we've got a slight backup really as you approach the turn off. Please be on the lookout there. Heading towards Cosmos City, we've got an accident reported on the N14 East right near Malibongwe Drive. It's causing heavy traffic volumes. Please try to avoid that one. There's also queuing traffic in Bryanston along the N1 South delays between Rivonia Road and Winnie Mandela Drive. Roadworks are causing these delays. The same goes for the N3. In fact, both directions between Vincent Chabalala Road and the Baklu interchange, those roadworks are really problematic this morning. And if you are traveling in heading towards Isando, we've got an accident reported along the R21 South. It happened near Atlas Road. It is slowing down traffic. Do expect about a 15-minute hold up. At this point, you could be held up for about 15 minutes towards your destination. If you're heading towards the OR Tambo Airport, please try to use alternative routes. You can try using Morafontein Road as well as the R21 South. While traveling on the N3 North, queuing traffic between Van Buren and the Kilulis interchange, and in Harrietdale, roadworks are causing delays on the M2 West. This is between Cleveland Road and Silver Street. And that's your last update from me, Mo Ramela. Otherwise, Karabo Jale will have your next traffic report from the top of the hour onwards. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You are not dreaming. You are repeating. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
Betway is taking you to dizzying new heights in one of the world's most popular games, Aviator. Place your bets and watch the multiplier climb higher and higher. Pick the right time to cash out and stand to win millions on a single bet. It's all possible from the palm of your hand. Get way more only at Betway.
Betway is licensed and regulated by the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board. No persons under the age of 18 are permitted to gamble. South African Responsible Gambling Program toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710. Winners know when to stop.
Step into a world of unforgettable experiences in Dubai. From luxury beaches to underwater adventures. From authentic traditions to futuristic museums. Make it a Dubai adventure to remember with Emirates. Fly to Dubai from one of 3 gateways in South Africa. Start your holiday the moment you board with delicious regional meals, complimentary drinks, and up to 6,500 channels of entertainment. Fly Emirates, fly better.
Relationship issues?
Relationship Talk
On 702.
24 minutes before 12 o'clock. This is our relationship and sex feature. It's adult radio. A reminder that children are not allowed, only adults. Really for this conversation. We're talking about the giver/receiver dynamic during sex. There are couples that are struggling with this. You've got people who enjoy giving the pleasure, and sometimes you've got people who enjoy receiving the pleasure. But sometimes the person who receives also wants to be able to give the pleasure. The person giving the pleasure also wants to be able to receive the pleasure. So far, I'm getting a lot of guys come out and say, I get the pleasure, I'm a giver, and I get the pleasure from just seeing my partner be satisfied and having a good orgasm. But we also know that we live in a society where there are stereotypes, right? Women are seen as the receivers. You just have to lay there and be serviced. That's not how it is. Women sometimes want to take charge. Women sometimes want to be the ones that just tell you, stop there and let me come and go down on you. But sometimes they are in relationships with conservative men who sometimes ask them questions. When did you learn that? You emasculate me by wanting to take charge like that. So how do you navigate these dynamics in your marriage, in your relationship? Whether it's a same-sex relationship, whether it's a heterosexual relationship or marriage. So we want you to share your thoughts with us on 011-883-0702. Your WhatsApps are coming on 072-702-1702. Lisa Welsh is an accredited sex educator who's guiding us through this conversation.
Morning, Clement. With regards to receiving or giving pleasure, I like to give pleasure. In fact, I enjoy giving pleasure to my partner. I think that's where I get my satisfaction out of seeing my partner being satisfied. And yes, we did have some issues at the beginning because also she was worried that I'm not being satisfied. Because yes, I do have like a bit of an appetite more than her. But for me, I get the utmost satisfaction seeing my partner being satisfied sexually.
You know, yeah, thank you for that. Lisa, I'm trying to understand, and maybe this must be the conversation for next time when we maybe even bring in a psychologist who can help us understand the psychology behind, and I don't want to call it an obsession, but this preference on most of us as men, because, you know, based on the messages I'm getting on WhatsApp and the voice notes I'm playing, men are satisfied from just seeing their partners, in this case, from the examples we've heard, women being satisfied. And I'm just trying to understand what the deeper psychological reasoning for that may be. And I know you may not have an answer for that, but does it not interest you that, I mean, I've not heard of a man who says, well, I like it when my woman just tells me to lay there and then gets on top of me or does this and I'm receiving the pleasure until I come and the woman has enjoyed that. I wonder why.
Yeah, it is interesting. Obviously, 702 listeners are all these wonderful givers. Get all of their pleasure from only giving. I mean, it is normal and it's great and it's admirable and wonderful. But for all the people that are listening that do resonate with the 3 listeners that we've had now say this, if you are only giving, if you don't ever let yourself receive or be touched, then just ask yourself, like, is there something more to it? We're not trying to analyze or be psychologists here, but just note to yourself, do you feel desired, or do you need to feel desired? Do you find an opportunity to relax in your sexual activities? Are you wanting to give just because you want to, which is wonderful? But are you giving because you're scared to ask for something, right? That's where it starts to get sticky. Or are you giving because you feel like you might fall short if you're receiving? Or is there something else going on medically or emotionally that is causing you to struggle to receive? I'm not trying to say that any of the callers that this is what's really happening, but I'm just thinking with listener, anybody who's listening, is that potentially a dynamic that's worth looking into?
Yeah.
Being a giver and loving being a giver is wonderful, but just, is there something more? Could you experiment with receiving and see how that feels? Because perhaps you'll discover something about yourself. I mean, for some people, they have the dynamics, for example, in BDSM, where those roles are more rigid, and then you have like a dominant and a submissive. And I mean, that we accept that is as it is, right? But again, that is not the only way that people can be. Even in BDSM, they can switch, right? And so I don't want to invalidate what anybody is saying here, but I know for some people that get kind of stuck in the role of giving, it can feel awkward. It can feel like they don't want to change the way things are, that their partner maybe just expects it to be that way. Maybe it makes them feel manly. We spoke about women being in the role of receiving. Maybe it feels like the men might feel like they should be giving because that is how it's supposed to be, and that's what we expect a man to do. But yeah, I just want to say for anyone listening that regardless of how you like to give or receive, your pleasure is valid, and it's worth having that conversation with your person, if there is a person or people, to say, how about we try this next time? How about we choose something for you tonight and tomorrow we'll choose something for me? We can invite our partners. If your partner is a giver and they give all the time, and you suspect that they might want to receive, ask them, what helps you to feel desired? Or what would help you feel safe to let go? Or what can we do to make this even better for you? So small little swaps, it can lead to bigger shifts over time.
Good morning, Clement and the team. I'll call on behalf of receivers. I am a receiver. I won't even lie. I get really tired even giving. But when I do receive, I receive very well. I'm a showerer, if that makes sense. So I will shower, and if I don't shower, then I'm sorry, I will not be receiving from you ever again. So yeah, I think it's a great relief and great feeling to be a receiver, and it's almost a compliment to the giver, so yeah.
So I would like to share the story. My man likes me to just lay there. I just lay there lazily and allow him to navigate around me, and I tell him what I like. And I would also touch him in certain places, like he would like me to touch his balls, touch his bum when he's on top of me, touch his head. Then he would just let me know what he wants, but I just lay there and allow him to navigate me. Oh my goodness, and he takes so much time. He makes sure that I come first before him. He just makes sure that I'm happy at the end of the day.
Wait, Wait, is the voice note continuing? Oh my goodness, this is so funny. Okay, wait, was the voice note continuing?
Wonderful.
Oh my god. Yeah, but that's wonderful. I'm glad, Anonymous. I'm sure that person can't wait to get home. So we do have some receivers who love receiving, Lisa.
Yes, I mean, wonderful. I mean, and it's right what that first caller said about it is a gift. It's true. If you are able to allow yourself to surrender into that place where you can receive and be present and allow your partner to give to you in that way, wonderful. Great. It sounds like all of the callers were very satisfied today, which
Yeah.
is wonderful.
Yeah. Let's go into some more WhatsApp voice notes.
Hi, Clems. Very interesting topic. I'd like to stay anonymous for more than obvious reasons. But I'm just reflecting on what you said at the very start of the conversation, is that rather than giver and receiver, I think of it as pleasuring and being pleasured. I've lost a few relationships for the fact that I was more a person who enjoyed seeing the pleasure rather than being pleasured. To the point where some women would be offended at the fact that maybe I didn't ejaculate to reach orgasm at the end of an encounter. But I enjoyed the experience as much as she did, just by pleasuring her. The correlation you make, that it's people who are generous are more the ones who are most likely to enjoy pleasuring. I wonder how much truth that is in there, because maybe it could help me determine my next relationship.
Greetings, Brother Clement and your guest. This is me. Call me Anonymous. Me, I am a giver and a receiver in a way. One day my partner or my wife said to me, baby, can I be in charge tonight? I was like, you, when? Why? I can't. Stop it. But she insisted. Then I said, let me give her a chance. That woman showed me some flames. She knows how to be in charge, and I really enjoyed it. And I always give her that opportunity. So don't undermine these ladies; they will make you sweat. Anonymous in Pretoria, thank you.
Thank you, Anonymous. Okay, the other WhatsApp voice note that we were laughing about, Lisa, Abel tells me actually that I cut it short because I spoke over the person. I apologize for that. I thought when she was sighing there, she was done, but she wasn't. So I'm going to play that again so that we hear what she says towards the end of the voice note.
Towards giving. I have had experiences with some.
Okay, that's not the one. We'll come back with it after the break. It's 12 minutes now before 12 o'clock.
You want a new car, but prices keep climbing, the timing doesn't feel right, the deals are never good enough. Until now. The Motor Select Demo Deal Dash is back this Friday and Saturday only. Get up to 100,000 Rand trade-in assist on over 1,800 demo models across 26 leading brands, all backed by SA's largest and leading dealer network. It's just 2 days. Visit motorselect.co.za to shop our demo range now.
Make waves with Hollywood Bets in the Splash the Cash tournament for your shot at a share of 1 million Rand. Top the weekly leaderboard in this thrilling competition for your chance at a mad cash dash. Simply bet 2 Rand or more on Playtech slots or 100 Rand or more on Playtech live casino games to enter. Get locked, loaded and ready to play. It's more fun to spin with us. Bet now.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0170.
As leaders in renewable energy finance, Nedbank has a track record spanning over 100 years. From pioneering large-scale solar and wind farms to financing complex energy infrastructure in emerging markets, Nedbank offers clients deep sector expertise, combined with the ability to navigate the unique challenges of Africa's just energy transition. See money differently. Nedbank. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider.
Relationship issues?
Relationship talk.
On 702.
10 minutes before 12 o'clock. Let's go to your WhatsApps.
He makes sure that I come first before him. He just make sure that I'm happy at the end of the day. So I feel like I am receiving more than giving.
Hi, Clement and Lisa. Beautiful topic. Clement, please ask her to laugh. I love. Amazing. Anyway, just straight to the topic. I think I'm both as well. And it's beautiful when you receive. I feel it's the most rewarding feeling ever because somebody's taking their time and servicing you. It feels great. And giving as well. It's nice when somebody is satisfied and you see them happy and like satisfied inherently, if there's such a. So I love that. I think I'm both, hey. But again, what I've realized is the ability to keep one's body up. Sometimes giving can be so physically draining. So I think that's one of the reasons I exercise, because I don't want to find a point where my body, I'm not able to control it. Thank you so much.
Hi, Clement. So my partner and I are both givers and receivers. Proud givers and receivers either way. And when I tell you, when that man goes down, he really goes to town. He will go to town until I say, listen, we're good. And I do the same, So when I go down, I make sure that I satisfy my man and I make sure that my man is good. And I'm the more experimental one of the relationship. So, when I want to try new things, he makes it such a safe space that we're able to explore. And like once or twice a year, we'll do something, that's quite out there. My most recent thing was trying the grapefruit, and it really rocked his world. So it's a great thing when you can have open and honest communication about what you like and what you'd like to try. And it's not always going to be fireworks and everything, but when you can just have sometimes quiet, beautiful lovemaking sessions, I think, it makes for an amazing relationship.
Yo, Mr. Clem. Oh, I personally think why most men prefer to be givers. It's because it's a win. You see, when you make your woman come or girlfriend or whatever, you feel like you've won in that match, in simple terms. So being the giver gives you that sense of victory. You have the breaking rights. You can share with your friends, whatever. But
oh my God, the pressure on the poor women. Oh no, Lisa. Can you imagine? Now you're gonna brag. What? You're gonna say to your friends, yeah, I made her come. And now women is gonna lay there and just pretend like they're coming because they know that your ego is gonna be bruised if they don't. Oh, I just think it's unfair on the other party. But I mean, great to hear.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Interestingly, the one caller who mentioned that she showers, I think that's also why so many people are interested in making a woman shower, if we're using that word, because it's visible proof of their victory.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And for sure, it can definitely feel like pressure, but I took a positive from those voice notes because I wanted to talk to the guy who said that he feels like being a giver is so generous. He wanted to ask a little bit about that. And I think both roles require generosity because yes, you're giving energy, but receiving is just as generous in that you're allowing yourself to be the center of this experience. So both of them are generous. It's great if both people can feel like they're winning. I really loved the caller who mentioned that his wife wanted to be in control and how much he loved that, because if you allow yourselves to learn together, it can be awkward at first. It can feel a little bit clunky, but that is when you get to that position, like the other two callers you mentioned, both being givers and receivers, both really loving to put a lot of time and effort into the activities that they're giving, into the energy that they're giving to their partner. And when, like we've said, it's not always 50-50 every day. That's very unnatural. But if you know your partner gives his all to you, then when it's your turn to give, you're going to be like, right, I'm going to give it all to you. Like then it becomes exciting. And instead of feeling like, where did you get that from? Like the caller who said his wife wanted to be in control and he thought, whoa, what's going on? But when he let his guard down, instead of being defensive, he discovered how wonderful that could be. So it is about being vulnerable, because when you struggle to receive, when you always want to be the giver, it can be because you struggle to let go of control. It can be that. So ask yourself that. Dare yourself to say, am I am I actually wanting to be in control here? And how much could be available? How much pleasure could be available for both of us on the other side of letting go of that control?
Yeah. Okay, there's some messages here that have come through. I do think, Lisa, we must do part 2 of this conversation because the response has been overwhelming. And I haven't even gotten to, other voice notes. But here's what Anonymous says. Hi, Clemens and Lisa. Anonymous here. I'm both a giver and a receiver, and I like taking over when I see that my guy needs to recharge a bit so that we can take it to the next level. Another one says, Clement, I personally enjoy licking every inch of my woman and I make love to her until she comes. But funny thing is, I don't like her to do oral sex on me, but I get pleasure making her come. And then another one says, Clement, my partner thinks he's a giver, but I try by all means to be the giver, but the man will tell you that sex is tiring. And then another one says, Clement, your subject has made me wonder about something. One's ways in the bedroom doesn't necessarily match their general personality. Yeah, of course. I mean, some people will say, Lisa, there's there's a Sasha Fierce of sort, right, that comes out
Yes.
in that moment. It's like, who are you? Who are you? I don't know this person. The last one comes from Nons, who says, I'm a receiver and my ex-husband is also a receiver, so we didn't get along as he expected to receive, and I just couldn't. But these things, as Lisa has explained, you can just talk about them. It really, really does help. Lisa Welsh, accredited sex educator, always so much fun talking to you. You give us so much insight. We're going to do part 2 of this conversation, yeah?
Great. Thank you so much, Clement. I can't wait for part 2.
It's 3 minutes before 12.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
The loud conversation about the decision by the United States under Donald Trump to boycott the G20. I must be honest with you that I don't understand it. Oh, man. It's one country. They've decided they don't want to come. The other 19 are coming. Can we just get on with it? What if your biggest bully is not as scary as you think he is anymore? There was a time. Maybe Donald Trump is no longer as scary as he used to be. He's a sweet old man who's a little eccentric. And just need to move on, eh?
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, unfair blacklisting, or an uncontested divorce, Clientele Legal offers professional legal services to all South Africans. Our plans are affordable, and you receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our nationwide legal teams are standing by to support you 24 hours a day. Plus, all plans include a 5,000 rand bail benefit. Join today. SMS LEGAL to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
The Dial-A-Bed Black Friday sale is now on with 20% off absolutely everything. Start Black Friday shopping today and save thousands on all our best brands. 40 Winks, Sealy, Simmons, Dunlopillow, King Coil in all sizes, all less 20% and all ready for fast delivery. Dial-A-Bed. Sleep for life.
Coming up
on the Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
All right, before we tell you what's coming up on the Midday Report, we've got the statement. Remember, I told you we had reached out to the Israeli embassy in South Africa and we asked about whether the people who arrived here from the airport were coming from Israel. The statement says, apologies for the late response. The ministry's response is that close to 250 Gazans in need of medical treatment and caregivers, as well as Gazans with dual citizenship, exited Gaza yesterday through the Karim Shalom crossing to the Allenby Bridge crossing and the Ramon Airport. We urge countries and organizations to coordinate efforts and provide the necessary support and treatment. Many have already done so. We remain committed to working with our partners in the international community to actively coordinate and support the medical evacuation of patients and caregivers. Israel never stamps passports on exit. Regards. That's a statement we got from the Israeli embassy in South Africa. Mandy Wiener, good morning.
Good morning, Clement
What's coming up
Manyathela.
today on the show?
President Ramaphosa has been joining the cleanup in Soweto with the CEOs, of course, G20 next week. They were literally painting the lines white in Sandton yesterday, hand painting. The Gauteng Premier is facing a vote of no confidence. The Western Cape Premier will speak to us about the SAPS gang infiltration report, weather warnings for parts of South Africa, and it's Friday.
Sports and good things too. That's what's coming up on the Midday Report. Thanks for listening to the Friday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show. We'll be back again on Monday between 9 and 12. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Khomuzo Modise. The DA in Gauteng says it's lobbied most political parties in the provincial legislature to support its motion of no confidence against Premier Panyaza Lesufi. Members have this morning been hearing Lesufi's no confidence vote. The motion was prompted by the recent disbandment